Okay. Everyone, step up now. Don't be shy. Welcome to Loamhedge Abbey Historical Site Tours. I will be your tour guide, Matthias720. And over here, you can see the Abbey.
Where?
Right here. You're looking at it.
I just see a big hole in the ground.
And?
Well, what's that well over there that has a crudely drawn picture of a fox sticking out of it?
We don't talk about that. That's dangerous. Don't walk over there. Don't. No, come back. Come on, come back, sir.
Is that known as the O well?
Yes.
I want my money back. 1 star on Yelp.
What? Moss Yelp. Oh gosh. Welcome back to Recorder on the Wall, where we're all very tired and it's really hot and Loamhedge is not there anymore and it's just a giant hole in the ground and it's really sad.
Oh, I'm not tired. I'm ready to rant. I've got my rant cannon.
Okay.
Hey,
yes,
that
folks,
where my
you too
soapbox
can get
is
your
at?
own rant cannon.
Wait, did you load my soapbox in there?
Maybe?
It exploded.
Oh.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. No weapons are allowed on this tour. Please put them back. Thank you.
What tour? There's nothing here.
There's
Oh, wow.
historical provenance.
Okay.
Look, there's the disease hole.
Oh, look, I found this neat purple robe. Too bad there's a skeleton attached to it.
You can take that out.
It'll clean up.
Yeah.
Why is there a note on the wall that says Nadaz sucks?
I'm sorry. We don't encourage people to graffiti. Please put away all pens and pencils. Thank you.
Right next to it, it says Vitch rules with a Z.
Reading this graffiti is the most fun part of this tour so far.
Yeah, okay. He's taking this gag. Come on. Welcome back to Recorder on the...
He thinks this is a gag.
No, a gag is imagining Scarum in this story instead of Horty.
No.
Oh, no, that's
Welcome back to
torture.
Recorder on the Wall, where Papa Abbott is moving this along.
Welcome back to Record the Wall, where we still hate Scarum.
I'm
I'm
Pete.
tired of
He's
talking
Jeremy.
about
The lady
I'm
with the
Katie.
rant cannon, yes, is Katie.
Boom.
And our lovely tour guide is Matthias720.
Hello.
Hooray.
Right this way.
And we
Nothing
read
to see
Loamhedge,
here.
or at least the first third of it.
Yep. Loamhedge.
So this is a total like a flashback novel about the abbey that preceded Redwall, and we're going to see what went wrong and the Abbess Germain having to make a difficult decision, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I totally thought it was actually going to be the first time I read it. Boy, was I friggin' wrong. I remember
Yeah.
this was the first book in the series that I remember I was angry with when I read it because I was expecting something completely different.
Oh, no. That was me with the Hittagals.
Yeah, but the Hittagals weren't the entire book.
No.
Let's be fair. There was plenty of good stuff in. There's good stuff in this book. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I just remember I had a. I did not like it at first because it was not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Everything changed. I hate it now.
No, it was just I expect because the preview, if people don't remember, the preview blurbs for this in like the back of Triss or like you'd see in advertisements or something like you get to learn about the story about a maid in Loamhedge and things like that, or you know Martha learns about this maid in Loamhedge and I'm like, oh, or just like the way it was described of the end of Loamhedge and all the story about it. And I was like, oh, this will be really cool. It'll be like where we saw Lord Brocktree becoming the first, Badger Lord to establish the Long Patrol and things like that. And then when I read through most of book one, I was like, okay, maybe it'll be like Legend of Luke, where book two will be the flashback story and we have the framing device. I was very wrong.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Well, before we start absolutely shredding this book, for
Oh,
the
I
things
like
that we
parts of
don't
it.
like. Because I have a feeling there are going to
don't
be
hate
a
them.
lot of bad things to say along with all the good things.
Yes.
Can we at least start off on a rather nice note?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
This is one of the few Redwall books that actually has a dedication at the beginning. And I just want to quickly read.
Yes.
It says, "For my good friend Martha Buckley, who inspired my Martha. For Heather Boyd, who cheered me from her hospital bed to mine. And to the memory of two brave warriors, Nolan Wallace, who became Lana Bowstripe, and Eric Mastio Takashigi Bohm, who fought the good fight." It's just like, from that you can tell whatever it is that Brian wrote in these pages, he wrote in honor of people that he cared about, people
Yeah,
that
that's
meant
very
something
lovely.
to him. So, if we're going to say any bad things, it's not because we don't respect what he did for these people in their memory.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
And you know what? I will continue the positivity train. I absolutely love the prologue.
Oh yeah, the prologue
I do
is
too.
This might be this might be my favorite one so far, just because I like the fact that it's just uh, in our text. I remember, Matthias, you said basically what I was thinking as well, which is it feels like Jakes is welcoming us in to listen to this story that he has written, and it's just so warm and charming and welcoming. It's perfect.
and it's only 3 paragraphs, which is surprising. But in 3 paragraphs, it gives you this sense of, yeah, warmth and just like, here, come sit by the fire. It's nasty outside. It's nice inside. Here, have a cup of tea, maybe a scone, and listen as I tell you this story.
Yep.
And I mean, even in the last line, listen whilst I relate this story, for am I not the teller of tales, the weaver of dreams? And
I
I think
love that.
he's used that a couple of times, I think, hasn't he?
Pete ruined it. All right, now on to
Sorry, not sorry.
Megan.
Hey, that's my line.
Or, was it two
No,
up at the
yours
top?
is punny, not punny.
Yes. But he's used the Teller of Tales and Weaver of Dreams moniker at least twice. I think he might have used it 3 times. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's a fair description. He speaks to the reader directly rather than it being, oh, old so and so is telling young so and so about this story from when they were a youngster. It's like, yeah, that's great. And it has more impact after you finish the story and you're reading the outro, and it's like, yeah, it has impact and weight now. But to have the author speaking directly to you saying, here's what I want you to feel in a simple 1-page introduction is elegant.
And I do love the like framing devices that we have gotten in the past where it's one of the characters is telling the story, a character from the story is telling it, or in the case of Martin the Warrior, where it's the descendant of Brome is telling us the story. But so like I do love those. Like it's always cool to think it's somebody telling this tale of adventure. But with this one, it's just like we said, it feels so welcoming and it's so wonderful and it's so kind. And I think it really extends from that dedication of like this book was in for Jake's at least was like a labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
One thing interesting about this book, because as people, if you've been listening to our show any length of time, I mentioned I'm usually on the Kindle version. The last couple of books that I've had to buy for Kindle, there's a definite quality step up for this one. Where the last
Okay.
previous ones, the artwork has been very small, very hard to read. This one, they did their homework and they reformatted this for Kindle, so it's a lot easier to not only see the art but appreciate the quality here.
Oh, cool. That's good.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, comparing last book, Triss, to this one, the artwork itself is in fact bigger and it feels cleaner and easier to see. So take that for what you will. That's just my
Always a
opinion.
good thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that being said, our story begins proper with a unnamed holt of otters.
Yep, with my new favorite character, Stug the Otter.
Mhm.
He's the most adorable character in this book, and
Boy!
oh my god, him and Abruk, his father. This is just like one of the most wonderful scenes. Like again, it's just like so nice, and I don't know, like Stug is adorable, and Abruk is such a nice dad.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I ruined it by making a God of War reference. I'm sorry.
What?
Boy. Yeah, Stug
No,
is
but this is a
immediate.
good story.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Unlike
is
God of War,
immediately
this
every-
is well done.
Sorry. Stug is immediately every inquisitive child that's old enough to ask good questions, but young enough to not really care about the answers, which is
Yes.
very relatable.
Yeah.
This immediately reminds me of my nephew, who is he is so sincere with all of his questions. Like, I remember one time I was talking on the phone with him and my parents because they were together and I was obviously here in my apartment, like 4 hours away. And he's like, Aunt Katie, can you come and see us? I'm like, well, I'm sorry, honey, but I don't have the teleporter working. He's like, can you really try? Sure, I will try. It's still not working. I had to spend like 5 minutes convincing him that I was just joking. I don't actually have a teleporter and I really can't get there right now.
I really loved his line where he said, "I'm starfished," which is
Yes.
starving and famished. That is adorable.
Also, we get the Camp Granada pronunciations of mother and father. Hello, Mada.
Hello,
Father.
father. Here I am at Holt Granada.
So yeah, it's an otter father and son, and they're basically they're gathering food for the tribe, and Dad's just like, dude, get back to the hole, get everybody right now. And
Yeah.
I immediately thought like, oh god, we're gonna have to watch his father die. And he's save his son. No, Tiger flashbacks. Stop.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, it also, well, I like the fact that we got to see Abruk just like being this natural father and in his normal state, like talking with his son. And it gives us a good contrast to where he's essentially almost panicked when he finds this half-dead badger lying in the middle of the area and the other dead badger, and just him like, okay, you need to go home. No more questions. Go home right now, quickly. Get some help. This is bad.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I think Brian does a really good job conveying the panic of an adult trying to do the best they can while not frightening their small child.
Right.
It's like, maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but this first chapter, the whole thing really resonates with me, and I don't have kids. It's just, maybe it's that part of growing up and realizing, how you need to communicate to, a younger person. But it's just like, no, I'm not going to listen to anything else. I'm telling you what you need to do. I expect you to listen. This is life or death. Do it.
Yep.
I think we're going to see something, I think that's done really well, at least so far in this book, that we're going to see more of is the differences between the younger characters and the elder characters, where we're like in a lot of the Redwall stories, and a lot of stories in general, it's, oh, some of the old characters are just old and stuffy and they don't get it. And so the younger generation are the heroes. Whereas in this one, every elder character or like parent, basically they know what they're doing and they're proven right multiple times throughout the story.
Yeah,
And
I kind of see a theme to this whole thing as like young people and elders kind of learning from each other and respecting each other's positions. Or if they're not respecting each other's positions, they may or may not come to do this in the future. I don't want to spoil anything, but
yeah.
And this is in stark contrast to how many books ago with Moral Fox saying, oh, well, Martin said we got to go. Don't tell, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's not tell any of the adults.
Or like Mariel of Redwall, where Dandon and Dury, was it? Yeah, it was Dury. Immediately go off with Mariel to help her out, whereas neither of them had ever actually been outside Redwall before, and the only character among them that was really experienced with tracking and adventure and things like that was Tarquin.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we get back, and as Stug runs to get the tribe, his dad's basically, as Jeremy said, he finds a half-dead badger. He also finds a very dead badger.
Right.
There's two of them here. With the older elderly one is very dead, and the younger one is a hair's breadth from death.
Yeah, and
He's pretty much got a skull fracture.
Mhm.
And his face is like chopped open. And yeah, don't put me down for one of those.
Yep.
Right.
Only Coast Raiders are so precise.
No, that was good.
Do they march single file or side by side? um, so I also still love when the otters get back, they immediately know how to take care of the injured badger, and they even admit it's not much what they can do, but they do give the other one a proper burial, and I liked that.
Yeah.
It also takes 20 otters to carry one male badger.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bringing into question on scale here again.
Well, they do mention that he's a very large badger. Like I'm
Like,
thinking,
even
like
for male badgers, yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking like earth white size with this one, because we have seen them as kind of like varying sizes. Like some are described as bigger than others.
Yeah.
Considering I think he uses later on like an entire yew tree as a bow. I mean,
He's a big guy.
yep.
And speaking of which, the badger apparently is an expert archer because they find his broken bow.
Yep.
Okay.
And the arrows that were left over are described as being taller than Stug himself. And I'm assuming Stug is somewhere around 6 to 8 years old, like human years.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can only assume that those arrows must have been several feet long. Those are
Right.
big arrows.
This is a big boy.
Oh, and so I guess this is and Shore Dog, who I guess he's the skipper of this hold. We really.
It feels like he and Abruk are kind of like the co-leaders of the Holt.
Shore Dog's like, well, this is probably Raga Bull. Oh, him? Oh.
I wonder how he's doing right now. Oh God, my hand!
Yeah, apparently Raga Bull's this sea rat vermin raider who only implies other sea rats. Racist. But yeah, he apparently has. We're told, yeah, he's crashed on shore and he's just taking his people inland. And hey, there's two badgers. Let's pick on them. How could this possibly go wrong?
What do you mean?
Well,
My
we just
paw
have
is
to.
hanging on
We might
by
have to
a
lend him a
thread.
hand on that one. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
ding.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of lost limbs or stuff that often in these stories. At least like, and when we do, it's kind of like a long time ago. Like in the last one with King Arugula was missing his leg and had lost it years ago. Whereas Ragabol, we have the full-on description of his like paw is hanging on by a tendon, and that's
yeah.
ugh.
and for the
Yeah.
record, the yet unnamed badger, we'll get his name in a bit. He didn't like chop it off with a sword or anything. He bit it off.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh,
This is definitely some blood rat stuff.
he went to the Krega school of attacking people.
No. What was that otter?
Fulgrim. Fulgrim.
Fulgrim?
Yes, you're right. Oh God, didn't he actually bite someone's head off at one point? Or
He definitely did.
okay,
I was thinking more along the lines of Carl the llama getting a taste for vermin paws.
who?
Llamas with hats. Okay, no, never mind.
Yeah, I did probably do that or two. But
We're
Somebody's going to get that reference.
And Raga's not happy, and he tells a couple of his underlings to go back and say, "Make sure that badger's dead and bring me his head."
You rhymed.
About time.
I'm a poet, and I did not even know it.
so our Redwall plot starts. Damn well at Redwall, because why wouldn't it? Yes, it's summer, and you're gonna get used to hearing us say this a lot for every book we have left. There are no continuity characters from the last book.
No,
Completely new ones.
We have plenty of references to the prior books, including a legitimate reference of an asterisk saying "Read Matameo."
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll
there's
address that when we get there.
yeah. It's really funny.
We do have some new new novelties in the various officer positions we're going to see at Redwall, and they have an abbot. They have an abbot.
Yay! Two
Yay.
books in a row with an abbot. Yay!
Yahoo!
We're on a roll.
But the head cook is Torin Whitegirth. Really?
Yep. Sounds like a
Really?
rather
Nice name.
skinny stick of a fellow, much like myself.
I'm starting to wonder, do some of these characters get these names? Like, are they old family names, or are they just sort of given nicknames that stick after a while?
Yeah,
I'm
we
thinking it
changed
could
it
be.
to Latrine.
Oh, that one I got. I
Yeah.
got that reference.
But yes, Torin Whitegirth is the Otter head cook, and although he's probably been part of the Musclar Holt previously, he's stated outright, "Oh, you're not going to the Hullabaloo? Oh, nah, I'm too fat for it."
I'm hauling rudder to Lollapalooza.
Yes. But I do like what Jakes does here, though, that he establishes that Skipper has gone far away. So that's a thing that he just puts in early for future things that may or may not happen involving evil people.
Ah.
All
Just
the
tell me
warriors are
there's-
gone.
Just tell me
Again.
there isn't a last-minute army of otters that show up.
I honestly can't remember.
Okay. No,
I remember pieces of that were okay. So again, like with Triss, we're in the era of I have read these, but I don't remember everything. And I remember portions of this book, but I legitimately don't remember a lot of the things that happened later. And I even actually have that in my notes at one point, guessing about something that might happen.
So we also have Abbot Carol,
Yep, Carol.
who is a mouse. Standard, okay, that's fine.
I like him.
And apparently someone's been whitewashing the Redwall's walls because they're pink dusty sandstone. Wait, what?
The sun might be hitting him the right way, or
Tom Sawyer, what have you been doing?
red does fade. It's no, Pete. It's not pink. It's lightish red.
Oh, yes, we have Carol's the abbot, and yes, and we also have Martha, a hair raised hair.
Why
raised
did you say that name?
No way, Tom.
All right, that will be the only reference to that trash fire of a movie.
Uh-huh.
So we're gonna get to Martha in just a moment, but tell me if this sounds familiar. We have a vermin leader who has just lost or otherwise deadened a limb to a badger who will shortly declare vengeance on each other. We also
oh God, I
have
didn't even think about that.
we also have an orphan brought to Redwall by strapped to the back of a relative, and I'm sure she doesn't have a deep voice or anything.
That's now how I'm going to read her voice from now on. So.
What lines? Grandma's dead.
Oh no.
Yep.
Actually, don't get me wrong. This is probably one of the most original books in a while that isn't following the obvious formula, but I had them bring those up.
I never even thought about that. Oh, and just to give you one more, we have a title of the book that has nothing to do with the Badger story.
Ah.
Yep, there you go.
Yep. Oh,
So
God.
Martha is 12 seasons old. She was just an infant when brought to the Abbey by her grandmother. These are not Salamandastron hares. They're northern hares who had traveled to Redwall instead of Salamandastron.
And her older brother, too.
Okay. And yeah, he had her brother Hortwill, who has been merely 2 seasons older, so pretty much a toddler, if not up maybe 6 or 7, respect age-wise. And yeah, Grandma gets him right inside the gates of Redwall, and bleh.
He then goes off to join Matthias's sister.
Indeed.
Now,
go ahead, Jeremy.
Did you die in front of Redwall too? No, I made it through the doors. Oh, that's good.
My face hurts. Thanks, Jeremy.
So yes, of course, what are the Redwallers going to do? Not take these hares in?
Or Orphans.
And we also have, before we
orphans. What are you talking about? Redwall never takes in orphans.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And before we get to Martha's most defining trait, because I know Katie wants to talk about this, I do want to point out their chief infirmary officer is a shrew.
Yeah.
A member of the order who is a shrew.
Yeah.
That's new.
And she has the northern accent too, which I absolutely love.
She definitely does, and she reminds me of Minerva McGonagall from the Harry Potter series.
I was thinking to go in a different direction. She reminded me of like a mixture of like of Scotty and Bones from Star Trek.
So,
before we move on, her name is Sister Sedativa, which sounds a little like sedative, which kind of makes me think she's a descendant of Sister May somehow.
I'm fine with that. Yep, that's canon now.
We have said it. It must be canon.
Or at least she went to the Sister May school of infirmary
knocking
keepering.
things out.
Who was your hero, Sister May? They do reference Madame Mayo a lot in this one, so you know.
Yep.
I mean,
That's fair. No,
Yeah.
that's totally fair. So that just leaves Martha's most notable trait. She had been carried on Grandma's back the entire way from the Northlands, but okay, she's an infant. That makes sense. And according to the Redwallers, allegedly, Martha has never learned to walk. For reasons they cannot find, and granted, this is medieval medicine, that the bones are not broken, there's nothing out of place with the muscles, allegedly. That everything from her knees on downward do not work. Oh boy.
Yep.
And they make her a wheelchair. And we already know Redwall isn't ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Because there's stairs everywhere.
Yep. I will say the way the wheelchair is described, and like Jakes does a really good job of helping you like see that this is kind of a new and creative invention in this world. Like he had to find a different way to describe it. Like it wasn't just a standard wheelchair. Like they actually put this thing together, and they don't use wheels a whole lot outside of like wheelbarrows and carts and stuff in this series. So it's cool to see like technological ingenuity that we haven't seen before, which does make me wonder about some of the other elderly characters in this series that have like they mentioned that like Bella almost never left her chair and things like that. Like, man, this would have come in real handy for some of those characters back in the day.
Yeah, no, this was really innovative on Torrance' part because he was the one that put it together for her.
Yep. Good on
Taking a light, comfortable chair, he fixed it to the base of a kitchen trolley, adding 2 large wheels to the back. The young hairmaid learned to propel herself about quite easily. Torrin also fashioned a crutch for her, but Martha used it only to get at things which were beyond her reach.
Yeah, so in terms of like in-universe ingenuity, this is really cool, and it's nice to see different things like this showing up this late in the series.
We're also told that she is pretty much one of the scholars, even if from a young age, she's a pretty talented kid in actual history, mathematics, poems, ballads, and oh good, she's a singer.
She has a lovely voice.
Because everyone who has great singing voices in the series always turns out perfectly fine.
And Jeremy's just made more friends, more of our fans cry.
Good job. She actually does sing a song about the late summer rose in this section of the book, too.
Oh, gosh. So we are also told that although she never complains about being chair-bound and invariably cheerful, willful, and help others, yeah, there's got to be some moments where she's got to feeling left out, especially even being a Dibbin.
They do mention it that she has the times where she's like a little down, and her wonderful brother Horty is always there to help her smile, and I love Horty.
Yeah, Horty.
He's my new favorite hair.
So I have a bit of an issue with Jake's description of Martha. And I don't even think, like, I definitely know that he didn't mean anything by this. This is just some of the internalized ableism coming out in that everyone has. I mean, probably including me. Like, I'm not going to say I don't have any. But, like, he says, you know, he describes all these things that Martha does well. And he says, the maid was a useful and welcome member of the Abbey. Does he say that about anyone else without a disability? he has to reiterate that she's useful and welcome, even though she has a disability. That's a little, It's like she has a disability, but she's totally cool. Like, you got to reiterate that.
Yeah, I definitely see your point. So he's just it's almost like he's trying to over normalize the situation.
Yeah.
Just saying,
And
hey, she's a scholar and really gets along with everybody. He goes out of his way to point that out continuously.
yeah, I mean, if he just left off that last sentence, it'd be fine. Like, just saying, she was maybe not, just maybe she wasn't a typical hare, because when he describes Horty, he says, she's a typical, he's a typical hare, like he's sentimental and whatever. But just saying, she's welcome and a useful member. It's like, I mean, I see what you're trying to do there, but maybe you should have had a person with a disability look at this over.
Yeah. I mean, just rereading it right now, it's... Okay, let me just read this out. According to popular opinion, she had the sweetest singing voice ever heard within the Abbey walls. She never complained about being chair-bound, and was inevitably cheerful and willing to help others. The maid was a welcome and useful member of the Abbey, Redwall Abbey community. And it's like, at first read, that doesn't sound like a problem, but when you think about it, as you pointed out, Katie, it's just like, yeah, there's something off about that. And it's the fact that the useful sentence comes immediately after the chair-bound sentence.
Mm-hmm.
The two are being linked.
Right.
And it's like, even if things were kind of rearranged, if you put one of those sentences at the beginning of the paragraph and left the other at the end, maybe it would work out better. But yeah, the placement next to each other just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, useful and welcome are just the words I would take out. Because, if everyone's welcome at Redwall, come on, everyone finds jobs to do. Like, you don't need to reiterate that this hare in a wheelchair is useful and welcome, because of course she is. Like, everyone is.
Of course, everyone's welcome at Redwall, but some don't deserve to cook ever. Looking at you, Slip.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking the other interpretation you could apply to that is welcome in terms of, hey, I'm very glad to see you. You are a welcome sight to my eyes. And it's like,
I'm pretty sure nobody ever said that to Slip back in Bellmaker. Nobody was like, "You're a welcome sight." It was like, "You're welcome to get the heck out of here now if you want."
Yeah.
I was thinking something a little bit more recent. Maybe apply that sentence to Scarum.
Yeah.
Oh no, you keep bringing him up.
Yeah. I'd welcome him into the jaws of death.
Oh dear. Yeah,
Jeremy, put the knife down. Put the knife down.
Jeremy, give me the knife. He trusts me. I'll stab him for you.
Oh dear.
And moving on, because
partner in crime.
Pride don't scare way too much as it is.
I gotta say, you could sell me on welcome. You're not gonna sell me on useful. Take useful out.
So Martha apparently also, of all other things, she gets along with the younger Dibbins.
Yeah, this is very sweet.
She sings them a song, and oh hey, they're actually remembering their history, like, really well. What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good continuity in this one, such as the wall race later on.
Yeah.
One of something I absolutely loved in this part was the Dibbin Buffle, who just goes Gerbergen.
Yes.
That
so
is cute.
Thing. That's the thing throughout the entire book.
That was great. And then they had like a little translator next to him. That was great.
So yeah, Martha's basically, she obviously knows the Abbey history really freaking well, and I mean, it's expected to be a scholar. Great.
Somebody needs to.
And then oh hi Hortwell. He interrupts and's like, hi, how you doing? And interestingly enough, Martha does not have the traditional hare accent, which
she does not.
Makes sense because she didn't grow up around other hares. She grew up at the Abbey. Fair enough. Hortwell, who obviously has the traditional Basil Stag hare accent.
Yes.
Well, he also puts in a little bit of the Cockney rhyming slang, which was weird because Brian's never done that before. It's like, where would Horty have picked that little thing up?
He's overcompensating.
And I'm sorry if you hear that car horn outside my window.
Or maybe he heard. Maybe you know what? They might have had hair visitors at one point when he was younger, and he decided to emulate them.
And I mean, he is a bit older, so he, probably was already talking at that point. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like if you adopt a young child from a different country, I don't know, do they? You would think that they would just kind of adapt into your language, sadly, unless you made an effort to remind them of their culture and get them in touch with people from their culture.
I could actually speak to that.
Okay.
I know a family. They adopted a couple of kids from Africa, a brother and sister. And when they first arrived, the kids could not speak a word of English. That was over 10 years ago. They are now in their mid-teens, and you can't tell that they were ever from another country.
Mm.
So,
yes,
I would have to the like a verbal affectation learned from a very young age. I'm a little iffy on that, if that's possible or not. It seems a little weird.
Unless he made the conscious effort to I don't know, maybe Martha did some research on this is how hares are supposed to talk. I don't know.
Well, Horty earns his sister's ire by splashing the ancient book she's been reading. And I already hear Matthias twitching. And Thorin teases him like, well, you splashed your sister's book. 50 seasons in the cellar or instant death.
Yeah. And he goes, all right, I'll jump in the pond. And he just leaps in, and then Torn takes him out. And I love where he's like, oh, I better get to eating or whatever. And Torn says, I'd better chuck him back in, miss. Think of the food we'd save. No, I do like Horty on this reread because I think the first time also he was something I did not like the first time I read this book, but now that I've been reminded of the terror that is Scarum. Horty's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he has his moments. Like, he can be annoying, but I think in general, like, he and his sister have a very affectionate, like, just loving relationship, and he wants to help her.
Yeah. And I like the comment in there where it says that he's always there to put a smile on her face when she needs it.
Yeah.
You know, I always appreciate someone that can ruin a bad mood.
Right.
Oh, hi, Fleetscut. Where did you come in? All right, so yeah.
Interesting and topical that the book that Martha was reading was about Loamhedge.
Right.
I mean,
I'm sure that won't become relevant very quickly.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm sure this book named Loamhedge will have nothing to do with Loamhedge.
Exactly. Exposition on the mice of Loamhedge seems fairly germane to me.
Ding.
So Redwall then proceeds to eat because that is what they do.
Redwallers, that's what they do.
Yes.
And we're also told that Martha's she's pretty much included in the quote-unquote Elders Council. So good for them.
Yeah.
Not bad for a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And you know what I really like Abbot Carroll because he's not too shy to admit that when he was younger, he was a bit of a rebel and pretty rambunctious, you know?
Yes.
I kind of like that, where we get more history to him, whereas with some of the other abbots, it's just like, yep, I'm the abbot. I've always been perfect.
Yeah, I mean, other than Abbot Saxtus, who we saw, as a child, and then in the next book become abbot, it's like, how many abbots have we seen or heard about their younger days in some way, shape, or form? Not many.
Well, I mean, Tansy, and some.
Oh, this is true. Yep.
But, they're not abbots for the entire book, so.
Yeah. And, like, Alf in Matameo, we saw him, a tiny bit in Redwall, but we also got to see him being a little bit, not as strict or uptight as some of the other abbots, where he had that amazing moment where he's talking down to Ironbeak. He's like, go ahead and throw them off the roof if you must, but it's not going to accomplish anything.
Yes.
You know?
It's not going to change the fact that we have rules and procedures, and, well, sorry, can't do that for anything.
Yep. Immediately followed by the next day, I'm going to drown them. Thank you, Constance.
So, we're moving on to chapter 3. It's again, we're still in this feast, and we get another song. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to get this right out of the way, and as Jeremy will say, some of these songs are actually really good.
Mhm.
But there are 15 that by my count.
And there's 15 chapters.
Yeah,
there's at least, I think there might be a chapter without a song, which means there's more than one in each chapter.
Oh, and for the record, it's not just the heroes doing it.
It's the villains. We have a couple singing. We have at least one singing villain in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Which I will admit, his songs are pretty darn funny.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
We also hear in this song Toran's old friends Bragoon and Sero, who I'm sure will never. They're in the book.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I was going to do the joke.
Before we get too much further, much like the chapter art from Triss with Scarum and the Burning Paddle, that telling you everything you needed to know in a single image, the chapter art for 3 is a loaf of bread with a sandal baked in it.
That's awesome.
And it's like, there's obviously shenanigans going on here. I call shenanigans.
I didn't even catch that.
Shenanigans is a great word, by the way.
Yep.
I shenaned once, I will shenan again.
Indeed.
So
Sorry, I'm just thinking of Super Troopers.
yeah, I'm sure you are.
Our shenanigans are cheeky and fun, but his shenanigans are dark and tragic. Evil shenanigans. All right. But yeah, we get our mention of Bragoon and Sero, which we actually have now a second story in a row with a lifelong close friends that are a otter and squirrel. But I'm sure these will have a happier ending, right?
Of course.
Right?
Yeah, obviously.
Cool. And I do like, while they're the elders are chatting, they bring up that like, I can't remember which of them mentions it, but they say that Horty is a young hare, so naturally he's just kind of wild. And Martha's like, well, I'm not. And it shows not all young hares have to be troublesome like idiots. Scare them.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perhaps you haven't noticed, Torin, but I'm a hare too.
Yep.
Sister Portula dusted a stray flower petal from Martha's head. Ah, but you're a very rare and special kind of hare, my dear. Any beast can see that.
We like you.
I'm going to call you special because you aren't your brother.
So, back with the villains, we have Rega and his sea rats are like, hey, we should probably do the right thing and, make sure the badger's dead. And Rega did order that earlier. It's like, huh. Well, the elderly one has been buried, and the younger one is missing. Oh, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure he passed away from his wounds.
Yep. And Raga's like, yeah, certainly. Looks over his shoulder like 18 times. Yeah, he's definitely gone.
Wait a minute. And then Raga's like, wait a minute. I've heard this story before. The old vermin legend sword. But
I will say he shows some restraint here, where his two underlings start like muttering behind his back about how Badger's probably still out there, and he's like, no. He immediately he threatens them, but then lets them go. Of like, you questioned my ability to kill people, but whatever. Like, I gotta see if this was like Damog from Long Patrol, he would have like chopped the first one's head off and said like, "You think I'm still weak, huh?"
Or Undeath
we're
throw
gonna
him out
get
the window.
we're gonna get to
throw him off the cliff. This is Raga.
we're gonna get to the ultraviolent vermin leader before the end of this section. So, but yeah, he's just like we're told his dreams are troubled by visions of a giant striped dog coming slowly but surely with the light of vengeance burning in his eyes. Hey, Sunflash, buddy, your story's over. Thank you, Jeremy. We also get food porn, and it's not from Redwall. It's the Otter Chowder that I totally want some.
Oh, there's so much food porn in this book. Like, you know, it keeps coming from here.
There's like a part where Sarah goes off for like a paragraph about all these different dishes, and I was like, thank God I ate before reading this part.
Right.
So yes, apparently the yet unnamed badger is healing quickly, and the otters don't think he'll die.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, and Abra brings up that like, I guarantee you that badger's gonna go find Ragged Bull and like turn him into mincemeat. And I like the way he describes Blood Wrath here. It's like basically it's like he's telling a horror story.
Mm-hmm.
And
unfamiliar with the strange words, Doug posed a new question. What's up, Blood Wrath fodder? Albrook shook his head decisively. Blood Wrath is terrible. Something you don't ever want to see or know about. Go on now. Off to bed with you, me son.
Yep.
Stug also is making our yet unnamed badger a new bowstring.
Albrook is.
Nice?
Albrook is making it.
Yeah, Arbrook, sorry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Stug is faithfully staying by his side, and I love Stug.
Yes.
Stug is like a cross between Cheek and Baby Rolo.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, the best of all.
So, chapter 4 begins with chapter art, and this is the How Anthropomorphic Are They? Bumper. How Anthropomorphic Are They? Well, chapter 4's art not only shows us very anthropomorphic, hey, there's Martha in her wheelchair.
Yep.
Like, it shows us that's the design.
Yep. We also get introduced to one of my other favorite characters from this book so far, Fred.
Oh, Fred is great.
I love Fred.
Let's talk about Father Fred because, well, we've never really gotten a really good explanation of how the religious half of this order works that manages Redwall. Yes, there are brothers, yes, there are sisters, and there's an abbot and abbess, and we don't know what the rules are different from friar. This is the first time we're hearing the honorific father applied.
They mentioned Father Abbot and Mother Abbess for the previous ones.
Yes, but not just Father blank or Mother blank.
Well, I don't know. For him, I see, because he's a retired abbot, I kind of see it like the way the U.S. treats former presidents, where they still refer to them as president.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
this is essentially this is the abbot emeritus.
Yeah.
He was abbot at one point and elected to retire.
Yep.
Rather than...
We've never gotten that before. Like, we've never had a current retired abbot.
No.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we have. Pearls.
Not for the entire book.
Oh, point.
That's what I meant. Like, we've got a current abbot, and then we still have, like, the previous abbot is still around instead of died off screen or stabbed with a poison, whatever the heck.
Yeah.
So,
or it's the end of the story. There is no more story. Go home.
Yeah, or it's the end of the story, and here, or died off screen because, or died in a sentence like poor Arvin.
Right.
God.
But I mean, the thing I like about Fred is that it doesn't read like he is like has a mental illness where he is talking to objects and doesn't realize it. I think he just is like old enough that he doesn't care, and he just talks, like pretends to like talk to everything. He's like, I'm gonna have some fun.
Yep.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. He's so cool. I love at one point where he chastises a chair for being too comfy, and I love that.
Yes.
And you know what? And it even translates to him being able to connect with the others, where Martha mentions that she speaks and that, you know, that she's speaking to Martin, and he says, well, I do that too. And you know what? He's a very good listener.
I mean, it's right there. First paragraph of chapter 4. Fred was ancient, probably the oldest hedgehog in all Mossflower, and enjoyed being very old and rather eccentric as well. He enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yes.
And you know what? We've all met people who are retired or straight up elderly who they've stopped caring about social convention and have no tact, and it is awesome.
Yep.
Right.
I'm old. I can
Most
get
of the
away
time.
with it. Like me.
Yep.
In particular, there's someone in my normal theater troupe every summer, and for obvious reasons, freaking Dryden's feature, we couldn't meet this summer. Barb, who is awesome, and she's an 80-plus-year-old woman, and she just no longer cares about social convention. So when I don't even remember the context of the joke, but I mentioned once in a play practice about some, my dating habits, and she spun some dirty joke at me, and I think my jaw dropped. I'm like, wait, no, you're Grandma Barb. What are you doing? But that, like I said, at some point we will all reach that point where we stop caring about social convention, and it's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Indeed.
So Fred also walks into the kitchen at one point, and again, food porn. I want this. Preserved plum and apple pie, golden crust liberally dusted with maple frosting.
Yep, it just
I'm
gets worse
imagining
from
that
here.
maple frosting has like a sugar glaze over it.
Yep.
Jeremy's hungry.
And Fred has diabetes.
I feel like everyone in Redwall has that at some point.
I would not be surprised.
Oh god.
So it continues the story, and we get Martha still reading her books, and it mentioned how every time she reads about Martin or sees the tapestry, it feels like he's watching her. Martin knows when you're sleeping. He knows
every breath you take.
Oh no.
Martin is watching you.
God. Well, so I think one of the cool parts is like as we get further and further in time is how much more Martin continues to be revealed as like this mythical figure where nobody because in the original book obviously it was his sword, and there have been times where his sword was seen as like the mythical thing, and even in this book like our stupid villains see when we get to those idiots they see it as like the magic sword. But for Martin himself, nobody sees him as just this great warrior anymore. Like he's this beacon of hope and strength for the Abbey.
Yep, and Martha talks to him.
Yep. And we
Not
get
only talks to him, like falls asleep after talking to him, and
Yep.
Martin time.
Martin time.
And now, Martin, he now has a buddy with him, which it's not Gonf, which darn.
Man, that'd be so fun.
Yeah. There's actually a joke riddle that coming up soon that I swear to God Gonf visited Bragoon in his dream and just gave him that.
Yes. Headcanon accepted.
Yeah. So we get our first riddle, which is, where once I dwelt in Loamhedge, my secret lies hid from view, a tale of how I learned to walk when once I was as you. Though you cannot go there, look out for two who may, travelers from out of the past, returning home someday.
I wonder who those could be.
No idea.
Aww.
I don't think we'll ever be able to figure it out. I mean, it's not like we just heard about two specific troublemaker characters who left the Abbey at some point.
They're obviously not important.
Nah.
Nope. No relevance to the story whatsoever. Red herring.
Yeah. Red wall herring.
Ding.
And we then get Horty and his two partners in crime that are like, hey, let's take you outside, Martha, and just like race outside and almost like tumble over and get hurt.
I would not be a fan of this. I would be more mad than she inevitably becomes at him for doing this. Like, no, I would. Could you ask permission first?
Yeah.
Exactly. She was asleep, and they basically woke her by grabbing the back of the chair and racing forward as fast as they can go outside. It's like, Horty and Co. deserve a bucket of water tossed on them at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Don't wake up your sleeping sister like that.
Yeah.
Sharks.
Yeah. And you know what? He is quick to apologize, though.
Yeah.
When he acknowledges what he did was wrong. And as soon as Martha says she and as he and his friends are leaving, she then remembers the dream and says she does need something, and he immediately hops right back and says, "Okay, whatever you need, I'm on it."
I mean, that
So-
could also be because he doesn't want her to tell anyone and get him in trouble.
That's
but,
true, but I still get the impression that he does care about her. You know?
Oh yeah. I'm not denying that. He definitely does.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. It's I care, but please, you're my sister. Don't get me in trouble with.
I'm a hair, but I care.
Ding.
I'm no rabbit. Please don't rat me out to the abbot.
Ding.
He was a hair's breadth away from getting in trouble.
Oh
Dang.
dear.
We need to get like a bell or something.
I definitely need a bell.
Oh god! You know what? We should probably. It would have been hilarious if we opened this show with Katie just going ding, 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 ding. Okay, Jeremy, that covers you for the food episode.
Yes, that's true.
If only.
Oh. And so yeah, Martha calls over the abbot and Sister Portula.
Yep.
Okay. And they meet up with Fred in the gatehouse and immediately start getting to work on this mysterious poem. And even Carol's like, I don't know who these two could possibly be. And it's like, really? You really? Okay. So our next chapter, we get the Moron Brigade.
Oh dear. Yes.
Oh my god. These have to be this has to be the dumbest vermin gang in the franchise.
I was kind of scrambling because I forgot the two leaders' names. So I'm like, well, they don't really last that long. So
Yeah.
do I really want to put forth the effort?
This was so funny.
So
First of all, we have we have a guy named Flinky, which all I could think of was Slinky. So everyone wants a Flinky. Go, Flinky, go.
And it's funny because the same voice actor that plays Flinky also played Kilconey in the audiobook, and they have the exact same voice, which, you know what, after 15 books, I don't begrudge some of these voice actors for being like, can I use this one again?
And it's a great voice too. It's like,
is.
It's so. How do I want to put this? It captures just the right amount of Irish without it being overbearing.
Right.
It's like I feel like I'm watching late night PBS and they're doing BBC dramas.
And we're introduced to their leader, Burad, which, you know what? We definitely got to strap in. He's going to be one of the big bads, and he's dead.
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't want to be the leader of this gang because he's not the first one to die.
Well, no, he is. Burad is.
Oh,
And
excuse
we
me.
get
He won't
more
be
right
the
now.
last one to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones over here.
Oh my god. So, which his death is the funniest thing so far.
Yes, but we skipped over the appearance of some very unimportant people.
Yeah, well, they're unimportant. That's why we skipped them.
Oh
I mean,
yes.
it's only an otter and a squirrel. I mean, they
Yeah.
came out of nowhere, and I'm sure they are utterly unimportant.
They're utterly unimportant.
Oh dear.
What a squirrely notion.
Ding!
I need a bell. I'm going to ship one day shipping order a bell for next time.
Oh, yeah, we get introduced to Bragoon and Sarah, where they're older, at which, they've been away from Redwall for a long time, and they spot our the idiot brigade, and you're like, well, they got fish, we're hungry, let's get ourselves some fish. And Bragoon gets the I'm getting too old for this game, and thank goodness he didn't mention that he was only 2 weeks away from retirement. And so he sneaks up on them, and which this is the first fun song where he insults all of them.
Well, first he claims he's a pharaoh, and then they're like, "Well, what's your name?" He's like, "I just told you my name. It's Pharaoh."
Yep, and
And
they're
it's
like,
what are you? And it's like, I'm a cross between a ferret and a stoat. But that was me parents that gave that to me. Who were they?
does he say like a weasel and and a rat or something?
I'm
A
looking
rat and a fox, I
Yeah.
suppose, but they was terrible liars.
Yes. It's like a ferret. Is that anything like a were-rat?
Maybe.
Possibly. Um, so he sings a little song for them, and it takes them a while to realize that he's insulting them. Like my straight up note was, I think the broken light bulbs that are in these idiots' brains just spark slightly, and so they get pissed. Burrad tries attacking him, and or grapples with him and tells his subordinate Scrod, "Go stab him with a spear." So Scrod charges forward. Bragoon moves and
Yeah, and then his last words are, "You killed me, you blather-brained fool."
oh my god. There's something just inherently hilarious about the phrase "you've killed me."
Yes.
Yep. Play pride-fueled rage games, win humiliating deadly prizes.
Oh my god. Oh my god. And so Bragoon and Saro are like, "Hey, we've got you surrounded now. Where you come from?" And we get, we come from the Northlands.
Yes.
Just there's dumb and then there's this.
Yeah, there's dumb and then there's plum nose.
Oh, Plum knows.
It's just, so they take all their stuff and leave. Scrod gets up as they knocked him like senseless. He's like, What happened? Oh right, I killed our boss. I'm the new boss now."
Yeah.
And you know what? And he points out like, "Oh, they were probably bluffing or whatever." And I'd say he was smarter than the others, but that's not really saying much.
Yes, and I have a very nitpicky point to make. When Bragoon was counting them and he said 12, and Sarah said there's 13, I think there was actually 12, or at least 12 that we have names for. But anyway.
Well, I mean, remember, they both kind of skipped out on Abbey School a lot. So.
That's true.
Well, they're still way smarter than this crew, which, again, I'd say they were all dumber than a box of rocks, but I don't want to insult rocks or a box.
No.
I have a very smart pet rock, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Your pet rock is way smarter than all these guys.
I also want to point out that at one point when they're stealing their fish, I'm like, "Hey, that's roasted roach," and I was like, "Wait, what?" I actually Googled it, so there is a species of fish that is called roach.
So they weren't actually eating cockroaches. Cool.
Correct.
Yep. Slimy yet satisfying.
Yeah, that name just bugs me.
Should we broach the roach of the next subject?
5 dings. Just consider yourself 5 dinged.
This is a preemptive ding.
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to make you fly somewhere far, far away. You're flying coach.
So anyway, Bragoon and Saro start talking about Redwall food, which we're not going to go into all this detail because we don't want to make all our listeners hungry as well as groaning from all our terrible puns.
Too late.
So moving on to chapter 6. Well, so the last thing is they decide to head back to Redwall. Two returning people to Redwall. I bet that's unimportant.
Chapter 6 begins, and its art is actually kind of interesting because one of the things that's not consistent across this franchise, at least art-wise, is how long are spikes on a hedgehog. Some of these guys, some of them are portrayed are pretty long. This, it's more like just hair. Well, very spiky hair.
Well, I think this is supposed to be Fred, and they did mention that all his spikes were drooping.
Yeah, but it's still like short hair, ultimately.
Maybe he keeps them.
What are you saying? All hedgehogs have to look the same?
Oh no!
I'm not.
Are you being hedgehogist?
A hedgist?
Oh dear.
A hoggist?
This chapter 6 actually begins with, "Hey, our unnamed badger wakes up."
Yep, and we
I'm
find
okay. Why does my face hurt? Why does everything hurt?
yeah, and we find out his name is Lana Bowstripe.
Yes, very prophetic.
Yeah, and
And I'm sure since his entire clan was murdered by a vermin, he's not going to take up a vow of vengeance just like a certain otter. Oh.
I actually had a note about Grath in here.
I love though that he wakes up and Stug's right there, and Stug immediately starts asking questions like, "Was
Yep.
that old Badger your daddy?"
Yep. I will say, like, and it's a nice, actually, good contrast to what we had with Grath, where she was rescued by obviously two very kind voles, but there was like no real talking between them, and instead we get to see that Lana is also very gentle and just so kind and willing to answer Stug's questions, and it kind of made me think of Sunflash.
Right. Yeah. Like a
And-
big, strong badger just loves the little kids. Just this so gentle with the little kids and always makes them
And
laugh.
Lung's like, thank you for burying old Gron, his traveling companion.
Yep.
And not his dad, not his dad apparently, but that's fine. And there's a moment here where Albrook's like, well, only vermin leave their dead unburied. Sure, because they
They're
buried
Klingons.
they buried Bluefin in a shallow grave, but they buried Bluefin.
I thought they just let the snow cover her.
No, they did actually dig a grave for her. But,
Oh God.
I mean, she was the wife of the chieftain. Doing so would be a grave disservice.
oh dear.
Ding.
Maybe you know what that might have been the reason why they did it. Which I mean, it was like the only real dignity she got in that entire story.
Yeah. Poor Bluefin. Justice for Bluefin.
Poor Bluefin.
But Lana's just like, hey, I've got a long scar now. I gotta repay the vermin who did this. Yep, here's a bowstring. Thanks.
Chill. And then all of a sudden, we cut to Ragabol, and he's like, why do I have this chill down my spine?
Oh no, there is a reason in story. Not only is Lana a rather large badger for male badgers, he's a freaking seer.
Yeah.
Which we don't see that outside of, like, we get the foxes and things like that, but we don't really see badger seers, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Rarely see good guy seers.
Is Lana Mary Sue?
Lana Sue.
Yeah.
So not only is Lana a seer, he's a male seer, which again is rare.
Yeah.
Most of the seers we run into this series, not only are they A, vermin, but B, female.
Right.
Even the one good seer we've seen to this point, what's her face, Polkeen, all the way back in Martin the Warrior?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, female. So.
And she just had bad news.
Right.
But yeah, and I it's like, as we get to know Lana, I gotta say, he kind of makes me think of like this mixture of Sunflash and Earthstripe, where like he has that strength and like a bit of a rage of the latter, but he also has like that wisdom and gentleness of Sunflash.
And he definitely has a big old dose of blood wrath.
And he's like, do you have any floss? I've got vermin stuff in my teeth.
Gross.
My dad told me not to play with my food. So we then go back to the Abbey, where they're trying to find out more information about Loamhedge, and I got a good laugh. So obviously while we're reading, we can't like type or stuff while we're actually reading the thing, so it's like we'll have to pause. So I paused, wrote down the notes of like, if the Abbey kept its records better, I'm sure the directions to where Loamhedge had been would be easily available. I'm certain that Matthias and his crew would have written something down. Immediately after, I see the line of Fred finding Tim Churchmouse's journal.
Yep.
It's not just Tim Churchmouse's journal. They left a map.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
We have a record-keeping win.
Yeah.
There isn't a riddle poem. No. It's a straight-up map.
Yeah. They said there is like text with it, like little riddle stuff or like directions with it. But yeah, they actually created a full map for it. You know what? I'd like to think Sir Harry the Muse helped out with that.
Yeah.
And
but
for this this feat of good archival anything. It's like, Tim Churchmouse, you're my new favorite character.
Nice.
And Fred, you know what? Fred knew that there was something there. As soon as everyone left, he's like, all right, I know we have something. I'm going to find it. And he found it. Like, they actually found something within a reasonable amount of time in the gatehouse. It's a miracle. And there was no description of dust flying everywhere and everyone sneezing.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
Morty does go comfort his sister at one point, but only under threat of not getting any plum pudding.
Yes.
And he sings, because as
Yep,
I've mentioned...
we got another song. So, we had a poem, which the Loamhedge Lament, which was really was a massive downer. But then
Right.
we get we got Morty's song where he sings about Sister Setiva who gets pissed.
Yeah.
I
It reminds me
love
of that
her.
Sister Cicely tongue twister.
Yeah.
Right. But the person who sang that was wise enough not to do it in front of Sister Cicely.
This is true. I love her response was, "Ah, yeah, floppy wretch. I'll physic you to death if I can lay my paws on you."
I mean, come on, I'm not Viola.
Aww. Oh my god, that was great. I love Setiva. She's great. I also love mushroom and barley soup that they bring up during all this, and I made that at one point. It's delicious.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
Also, Abbott's like, well, tomorrow's first day of summer. Feast! Well,
like,
actually, day of sports.
it's 2 days away. I won't tell anyone if you don't.
How
I
else
love
do you
that.
distract Red Wallers? With a feast, of course.
And games.
Yep. And we have another wacky name, Formal Dwirl.
Yes. But he's
Dwirl.
hilarious. Like, he was the one that's like, I won't tell him if you don't.
Yep.
He's one of my favorite formals just because he's like super chill. He's not
Yep.
even like business-like. He's just, I don't even have to dig. I'm just here. I'm having a good time. Let's eat.
Yep.
Right.
It's like, look, it's an excuse for us to have fun and eat food. What's wrong with that?
Right.
And
Like-
Martha looks at, as the chapter ends, Martha looks up at the tapestry, and Martin is staring down.
His eyes twinkling.
I know.
It's gone. Yep. And then chapter 7, we're back to Scrod and the Dummies, Tuesdays at 11. And we've got Scrod leading, which we've got Dargle is the naysayer right now because he's not wrong. Because he says, like, Scrod's like, I killed our last boss, so I'm the boss now. And Dargle's like, yeah, you killed him by accident, you idiot.
Right.
Still counts. That's
Yeah.
HR.
So to try to dispel the anger, Scrod tells everybody wants a Flinky to I was gonna start calling him Slinky to sing, and we get a Vermin song, which
We get
Flinky's-
3 Vermin songs.
yep, I do like his song though. It was pretty funny where he just literally insults every single one,
Yeah.
and everyone gets ticked at him.
Except for Stoats, right?
Let's see.
I don't think he insults Stoats, but I could be wrong.
I'm just taking a quick look. No, yeah, you're right. He does not mention Stoats.
Because he is himself a Stoat. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Aha!
Favoritism much?
Wait, why is everyone staring at me like that?
Yeah.
Guys?
Yeah. Well, you know, I never expect Firm and Cruz to work well together. And for once, I'll gladly say, I hate being right.
So, Scrod sees the only other fox in the team, Little Red.
Which I think is an
Aw.
adorable
And
name.
cute.
Who's the cutest little fox? Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Who's the cutest little murdering psychopath?
Yeah, more on that later.
Yeah.
But he's basically either an adolescent or a teenager fox. He's definitely can keep up with the adults, but he's not full grown.
Yes, and I gotta say, I usually am very fond of the way that these voice actors interpret the different characters. Not so much with Red's voice. It is grating. to listen to.
So you're telling me he's the pimple-faced teenager from The Simpsons?
Yeah, I mean, it's like high pitched and like it has a sort of lisp, like he has something in his mouth, and it's like really.
We need some more special sauce. Put this mayonnaise out in the sun.
Yeah, it's hard to listen to and understand what he says. It's like, what are you even? Okay, well.
Yep. And he's like, I ain't no fool, and I ain't so little either. I'm growing fast. One day they'll call me Big Red. And
I actually prefer.
Stop, you'll get us sued.
I prefer that voice actually.
And then all of a sudden you hear he's like, "Oh, the good, you gonna call me Big Red? Oh God, where did this come from?"
Yeah, I mean,
puberty.
You can tell I'm from Nebraska because Big Red just reminds me of the Huskers. So I'm not even a football person. I
just thought of the gum.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think his favorite spice is cinnamon.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, we've had running theories here that vermin name themselves because most of them clearly don't keep whatever name their parents gave them. Because it's straight up confirmed. Squad's like, good, when this gets sorted out, we'll give you a proper vermin name. We're gonna call you Big Red, we're gonna call you Bad Red.
Bad Red.
I'm Bad Red.
Well,
wait a minute, hang on.
When he finally gets that name, does that mean he'll be bad-ridden?
Well, hang on. I need to check with this Vermin HR. Hey, Vermin HR, is there a copyright name on Bad Red? Well, there was a Bad Rag, but he never filled out the paperwork, so he's good.
You know what? Actually, I would like to say if there was a vermin leader that would fill out paperwork, it probably would have been Badgerang.
Right,
Yeah.
but I mean, he lived so long ago that copyright probably has expired. So I think
yeah, fair enough.
Nobody renewed it.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, even if he was, thorough with his vermin HR paperwork, I don't think he filled out his vermin SAG-AFTRA paperwork or paid his dues or whatever. So,
right.
So they all he tells Scrod tells Little Red hey, obviously Dargle doesn't like me. I want you to keep an eye on him, make sure he doesn't sneak up on me, and I want you to find me a good spot to sleep. And so Red's like, you can count on me. I totally won't let him kill you. So 5 seconds later, it's true.
Yeah.
This is like a Three Stooges skit gone horribly wrong. So Scrod accidentally kills Barad, the previous leader. So during the night, Dargle sneaks up and stabs him with a spear. It starts laughing. Then in Scrod's death throes, he nearly chops Dargle's head off and kills him.
I was reminded of Ruskanza and Sagittar.
I don't throw my weapon away.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This is like getting a double KO in Street Fighter. Oh my god. And so then everyone wakes up.
Leader.
Huh?
We don't have a leader. Huh.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah. We don't have so Red wakes up because Slinky accidentally kicks him in the back while he's sleeping. And he's like, oh, I'll go check on the boss. Oh, that's not good. Ooh, I could be the leader.
I'm the boss now. You have to listen to what I say.
I'm the new chief round here. Me.
That's pretty much how it happened. So yeah.
Red is like if Vitch grew a backbone. Oh my god. And so he takes the sword, which is a little too big for him, and it's like, we're gonna go attack Redwall. Now I realized where that voice came from now. It was the guy from Kung Pao after the fist went low. My face is bleeding, so I'm winning.
And I'm Bad Red now. Okay. Why are we attacking Redwall? Because I got a magic sword. Okay.
I'm sure these dimwits attacking Redwall will be great. Oh my god.
Chapter 8 begins with Lana in a freaking awesome artwork.
Let me.
He's practicing with a bow.
Oh, yep. And we get more of Stug being adorable.
Oh,
Yes.
ain't he cute?
Yep, I love him. He's just kind of hanging out with Lana as Lana puts together his new bow.
Somehow I managed to heal up enough. Taking a freaking skull wound, I managed to heal up quite quickly and enough to engage in battle again.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like the Badgers in this franchise have been like damaged sponges half the time.
Yeah, I still imagine he's got like an IV bag attached to one arm, and he has rolled around with him.
Oh God. And yeah, so Lana mentions that he is a seer and that he knows Ragabol is out there, and he's like, I'm tormenting him in his dreams.
Yes.
It's fun. And you know what? It's a nice change to see someone that isn't Martin messing with a villain's dreams.
Yes.
Are you supposed to abuse your seer powers like that? I don't see why not.
Who's going to report me?
Yeah.
Seer
I'm not a
HR?
vermin. Vermin
Seer
HR rules don't apply to me. You know, there are times where Lana's visions remind me of Ben from Castaways of the Flying Dutchman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll see him again
soon.
Yeah, so
And yeah, Lana's he's back to he's made himself a new bow with the string that was also donated and a few saplings, and yeah, he's I'm sure his shafts will find them. Ah?
Indeed.
I will look for them. I will find them. And then I will kill them with my giant arrows.
Or
Maybe
bite their
2 at
hands
once.
off. I'm not picky.
That too.
and you know, why does this scene of Lana first trying out his bow remind me so much of Martin trying out his sword for the first time?
Well,
So, and Lana's like, well, I'm gonna go after Ragabol and kill him. So, anyone have any requests while I'm out there?
Knock his head off. Okay, I got one for knocking the head off. All right.
Well, allegedly he's only 8 to 10 days behind. So again, fast healer.
yes.
He's also Wolverine, apparently.
And sea rats apparently don't know how to not leave a trail behind because they're from the sea.
Yeah, and they even mentioned like while they're in a little bit while they're traveling, they're like, we're not used to traveling on land. So
Yep,
that
which is,
yeah, it's nice to see like there's a good reason why they're not covering their tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Lana's also got not just personal score from his face getting slashed. He's like, yeah, I gotta take vengeance for Gron because we were supposed to be going to Salamandastron. Yep. And yeah, Gron didn't make it. Yep. So.
Yep. So where's breakfast?
Spoilers, but do we even see Salamandastron in this book?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
I think maybe yes. Honestly, again, I can't remember. It's been like 10 years since I read this book.
Yeah.
Well, if we actually go to the map of the book, no, it doesn't show the mountain at all.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe it'll be mentioned in like the epilogue commentary or something, or
so that's what I was thinking.
Or maybe he'll leave it and be like, I have to go now. My mountain needs me. So the next chapter kicks off with
before that.
Oh, did I miss something?
That even looks like Chapter 9's art even looks like the Manameo map.
It is. It's exactly that. I remember the first time I read this book back in 2013, pulling out my copy of Manameo and comparing the map, and it's identical.
That's awesome.
All right,
that's fantastic.
Matthias, we interrupted you. What were you saying?
Oh yeah, I was just putting out about the map.
Oh, okay.
It's really cool that, taking the map from the book, putting it into chapter art. It hasn't been done in the series before, and I'm being really amazed the first time I saw it and knowing exactly what it was. It was just like, that is so cool.
Yeah. And yeah, we get our cheerful day at the Abbey, and Fred is great because this is the part where they go to the gatehouse, and he even has the line of it's like, "Come out of my way, let me see who it is. It's your fault being so comfy and allowing me to sleep like that." I love it. And you know what? Yeah, it was the chair's fault for being too comfy.
Yes.
And they do mention, so when they pull everything out, they say that the pages are falling apart, and it shows how far in the future this is after Madame Mayo.
Right.
And I mean, Abbot Carroll even points it out. It says, Abbot Carroll shook his head in wonder. In the seasons of Mordalvis, dearie me, that book must be nearly as old as time itself. And it's like, from our perspective, that only puts that halfway back in time to the Abbey's founding.
Right.
It's like, what?
Yeah. So like, oof. But so we do get in the Pete, was this in the Kindle also, the little asterisk?
Let me see what page.
Well, so on the paperback version, well, it's like the second page of chapter 9.
There is, yes. It's very hard to see, but it's footnote. See Madame Mayo.
Yep.
Exactly.
So the book, literally, after it says, written by Tim Churchmouse, recorder of Redwall Abbey in Mossauer Country, we have an asterisk that says, see Madame Mayo. So
At the bottom of the page. Yeah.
at the bottom of the page, and as far as I know, this is the only book that does this, right?
Yes. And I can speak to this because when I saw that for the first time, again, after freaking out about the chapter art, turning the page and then seeing the asterisk there and it just says, see Madame Mayo, I was like, what? Remember, this book came out in 2013. Not 2013, 2003. I was 13. And so it's like, I still have all this like exuberance for the series. I mean, I'm still exuberant for the series, but this is like that youthful enthusiasm, and it's just like, look, they made the reference. They're referencing it. And then he never did that again, and it was like, it makes me kind of sad, but at the same time, it makes it cool because it was a one-time thing that he did.
Yeah, see, this is why I'm so hard on Jakes for continuity, because when he remembers to do it, he does it really well. But then he just forgets.
Yeah. And like, because we've gotten references to like historical events or things, like we have similar locations. Like, heck, the previous book, we got to see Brock Hall for the first time in forever.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get like full-on references like this with specific characters. Like, I think the only other one I can really think of that sticks out was in Salamandastron when they read about how Roofbrush put Martin's sword up on top of the abbey.
Yes, and then Marlfox Sam Kim was referred to, I believe. But
Yes,
yeah, I mean, there's just
his journey.
There's little nods in there that are really enjoyable for rereaders or people that are reading chronologically. Like, oh, hey, I know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes us feel like it's even though we don't have character continuity anymore at this point, it's still nice to see that the history of the Abbey in the previous books is still relevant. Like they're still bringing up these characters. Like in actually in Triss also they mentioned Skipper was a descendant of Tagaron.
They did, yep.
Mm-hmm. And by contrast, if we look at the works of like Brandon Sanderson, where all of his books within a couple of the series that he's written, they interconnect and they're part of a larger story universe. And there are things that have been written in that aren't understood yet that are pointers to things that are in books that have not been written yet and won't be written for at least a decade. And it's like,
fun.
That's the opposite, where it's like, on the one hand, I really find it frustrating that Brian didn't put in more references to the past, but on the other end of the spectrum, it's like, there's stuff that in 20 years, when I'm going to be reading some of these books again, it's going to be like, wait, that was a thing? Sanderson was writing that all the way back then? What? But it's frustrating now because it's like, I don't understand what this means.
We even get like a good bit of like kind of realistic continuity where Sister Portula mentions that the land will have changed a lot since that time with like just time itself and weather and just all this different stuff, like it's not going to look exactly like the map. And I thought that was a nice little touch.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the party starts, and we get, you know what? We get one of my favorite moments so far. Bragoon and Saro are genre savvy. They know the East Gate is easy to open.
And they haven't fixed the East Wall Gate yet. 8 seasons. It's like they're asking to be broken into. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Okay,
we then get 3 Dibbins with more goofy names. Muggum, Shilly, and Yooch. I wonder if Yooch is related to Friar Gooch.
Maybe.
Yooch. Yeah, we have fun times. We have Horty being good in catching Muggum when he falls off the greased pole. We have Fenna kind of being a jerk and taking their food, like taking their prize, but then like being fine with sharing, and didn't, flat out steal and eat food meant for all the Dibbins, like a certain hair I could mention.
Yes. Have we mentioned Springold and Finna yet?
Not too much.
Horty's 2 friends.
Yeah, they haven't been doing as much, but they definitely start getting featured more starting here. So we have like Fenna, who is she a squirrel?
She's a squirrel. Yep.
Okay, so she takes their food and then tries to claim like, no, I got this. This is totally mine. And the abbot's like, share with the kids, you jerk.
Yes.
And we then get the heartwarming. We should bring up that prior to this chapter, when Bragoon and Saro were mentioned, Horty and his cohorts were like, you're making that up. There's no way that they did all this stuff, or they were such big troublemakers. And, they're just like these legendary people. And so they arrive, and of course we get the heartwarming reunions with Torin giving Bragoon a big bear hug. That was nice.
Because they're brothers. I don't think we mentioned that they're brothers, so that's...
Yeah. Torin is slightly older, I think.
Yes. Or no, is he younger? I don't remember.
Yep. And so, but then it cuts over to what's it called? Horty and his crew, and they're like, oh, they don't seem like much. And then Springold is like super rude to them, like, I could beat you in a race or whatever. And
yeah,
and I was like, all right, Springold, you and Fenna are on notice. Behave.
You skipped over something very important. It's that
Yep.
Bragoon and Saro, when they snuck back into the Abbey through the East Wall Gate, they were like, well, we could knock for the gatekeeper, but we don't know what kind of reaction we'll get, because we left when we were super young and we were terrors, and we don't know if they'll accept us back. So let's sneak in back through the East Wall Gate. You remember that trick we used to do? And we'll disguise ourselves and kind of test the waters. So Sister Portula, just walking along and sees this otter and squirrel with their faces covered, and like, hey, it's going to be afternoon tea? Well, it's feast day. We never have afternoon tea on feast day. You should know that. And it's like, Bragoon and Saro.
What?
Oh no!
It's Bragoon and Saro Bando. They're back.
Yeah.
And there's the elders like, oh great, they're back.
Yeah, they're all happy to see them. And I love the fact that it was one of the two of them when they see Carol, they're like, who's that? Not young Carol, the nut and spoon sheet.
Yes.
Well, it's actually
like,
Abbott Carol right now.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm Father Abbott Carol, but what a pleasure to see you.
Yeah.
And then Fenna passed each of them candied chestnut, Horty and Springold.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the famous Bragoon and Saro. Huh, they're not as big as I thought they'd be. And that's the title of book 1. They're not as big as I thought they'd be. Which I thought was kind of a cool touch. Each book is named, it's a quote from somewhere in the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. even if the book 3 one sounds like prophetic and a little. Ugh. Um, but yeah, no, I thought that was a nice touch too, and I did like where they say, "Bragoon, are you as good as a cook as your brother Tora?" And he's like, "No, I'd probably end up burning a salad." And I like the fact that at first the elders are angry with Springold, Fenna, and Horty kind of being rude, but Bragoon and Saro see like a little bit of themselves in those three,
Yeah,
and
I
kind
like
of just they brush it off. They're like, don't worry about it. We don't mind. We're not offended. Hey, I'm gonna kick your butt in this race.
that. Yeah.
The legends have returned home. Is home ready for them? Tune in next wall time, same wall channel to find out.
And so we get the return of the wall race that we saw in Tagarong.
Yep, which is fun.
Yep. No Forl this time, though.
No. There is a
Well, we
whirl,
do have a
but not a
formal
whirl.
whirl.
No.
Ah, I beat you. Ha!
I think that's like the first ding ever for Katie Dunn.
Maybe second or third, I don't know.
And I do like this where they kept the continuity also of the runners on the ground for like the younger folk, like the younger Dibbins or the elders who, they say it's dangerous if they're running up on the wall.
And once again, without asking permission, Horty's like, "We're gonna race!" And he grabs his sister's chair.
Horty, stop making your sister try to do stuff she doesn't want to do, you insensitive twit.
To his credit, at least he just wants her to have a good time and enjoy the race. So,
Yeah, and she eventually gives in. She's like, "Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not getting a book wet this time, so I guess we're okay."
Yeah, and Toran and Bragoon both encourage her too. They're like, "Oh, come on, go for it. I think it'll be cool. Like it'll be fun."
Yes.
And so but on the wall we only have Saro and Springold.
Yes.
And the two start racing, and it looks like we got Springold in the lead, and Saro's right behind her. Oh no, she's dropped back by a few paces. And near the end of the race, Saro just goes, boom! Just goes right ahead of her and wins.
Well,
And
specifically,
Springold's like, huh? What? Who? What? Huh?
Yeah.
Specifically, Bragoon gives a single sharp whistle as a signal to be like, now, and she puts everything she has, leaps over Springold's head to win by literally half a pace.
Yeah.
And she's an excellent sport too. She's like, "That was the closest race I've ever run," which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Sarah was like really nice to Springold. It's like, come on, let's let's eat together and stuff. Like she's a good winner.
Yeah.
And like we said, I think they see a lot of themselves in those younger ones, so they want to befriend them. And we find out Horty and Martha almost win.
Yep.
Which,
Maybe.
it's hilarious.
There were a couple of Dibbins that stopped in the middle of the race to eat some candied chestnuts. And it's like, oh,
hey, you need carbs for quick energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Dibbin with the candied chestnuts gives it and says, "Then heat these nuts make you go faster. We still win a race, mate." That sounds exactly like the sort of thing I would hear when I was in elementary school. Like,
Yes.
what kind of shoes do you have? They'll make you go faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, flyers. Duh.
And so I loved the way they described it, where Horty's like all confused, like, but how, what, but. And Martha's like, no, they totally beat us. And says what she didn't say was she grabbed Muggum, and Muggum grabbed hold of Shilly's tail, and then both of them just went flying ahead of them.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what I think, maybe I misread it, but as Horty was barreling through, he was about to run them over.
Yes.
Martha snatched them up, and when they came really close to the finish line, Muggum and Shilly just jumped off ahead.
Yeah.
And I do like it where the Abbot's like, really? Who won? And everyone stands up for the Dibbins. And I love Carol's response where he goes, why shouldn't I believe 3 good and honest creatures? Frogs can fly, fish make nests in trees. Who am I but a poor abbot who knows nothing?
I love the voice actor in the audiobook delivers like and also another line coming up in a future book, but like these lines are just so excellently delivered. Like the voice actor does an excellent job. She's like,
Yes.
well, Father Rabbit, who knows nothing.
This has got to be one of my favorite lines in the entire series because it's the perfect balance of snark and bewilderment. It's just like, I don't know, I don't care.
Yeah.
Or to quote Krunk from Emperor's New Groove, well, by all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that if Abbot Carroll is Kronk, who's Yzma? Sister Setova?
Sure, why not? That awkwardly killed this discussion.
I've never seen the movie, so
me neither. Sorry.
Yeah. We then get Martha being encouraged to sing, which I love the way Bragoon and Sarrow here, where you can just tell they're old friends because they do like the little ribs to each other, where Bragoon's like, I'd love to hear you sing. All I ever hear is my mate Sarrow, and she's got a voice like a frog being strangled.
And Sarah's like, ha, listen who's talking. Let me tell you, Missy, to hear old Bragoon singing is like listening to a nail trapped under a door.
And Martha sings a good song, and then we get another song, but I really love here where Sarrow dances with the Dibbins and then kind of leads them back to the dormitory so they'll go to sleep. That was so cute.
Pied Pipers them away.
Yeah. I love these two. They're fantastic.
I have a feeling if there was a book where they just stayed around for the whole thing, things would get out of control way too quickly.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
There's a reason they left.
Yeah, they're fun in short bursts.
Well, all this is.
Yep. So they end with saying like, "Oh, it's getting late, so we'll continue the celebration fun tomorrow." And Martha tells them her story, and they agree to help her out. And the next chapter has, I think, my favorite quote unquote Martin riddle.
Yes. Before we get into that, I'm going to bring the mood down with the rant cannon.
Okay.
But
Before you do that, I just want to point out the chapter art feels like something, at least to me, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. A group of monks laden with supplies leaving a walled fortress-like building. I mean, obviously, it's a bunch of creatures leaving Loamhedge, but if you don't know that and just look at the art for what it is, it does have this very forlorn feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Avatar either, so.
Me neither. I'm an uncultured swine. It's fine. Ooh, I rhymed.
About time.
Are those rocks ahead? If there are, we'll all be dead.
Oh dear.
No
Ding,
more harming.
ding.
I made it. Anybody want a peanut?
Ding!
I'm quoting Princess Bride.
Katie, maybe it's time to get that rant cannon out sooner rather than later.
Getting the rant cannon. So when Martha's telling Bragoon and Sarrow about his story, or her story. Wow, sorry, Martha. Anyway, like, okay, so Bragoon is extremely sympathetic. He's like, oh, that's a terrible, terrible thing that happened to you. Okay, so, I mean, I don't claim to speak for all disabled people. Obviously, that's way too much pressure. But the thing that I like least is people feeling sorry for me for something that I really, like, I just view it as another characteristic of who I am. Like, I'm blind. I'm also pretty short, so I have to get a step stool to reach stuff, which is sometimes more annoying than the stuff that comes with being blind. So it's like, it's just another part of who I am. And feeling pity for that is just, I don't need it. Please take your pity elsewhere and just treat me like a normal human. Thank you. I will have more to say later, but that's my rant cannon rant for now.
And I can kind of relate, without getting into the details, just due to complications from my birth, I have some like digestional issues, and the few people that I've really gotten into depth about how that affects me, they've all been sympathetic to me, and I've been like, look, I've literally lived with this my whole life. I don't know anything else.
Right.
So don't feel bad for me because I don't know what it's like to not be this way.
Right.
And it's unlike, somebody with color blindness being able to put on some of those corrective lenses. It's not like it can just suddenly be fixed like that.
Right.
So it's like I don't care.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know when we want to talk about like Martha wanting a cure for her disability. I mean, I could talk about that now. We could talk about other stuff. Doesn't matter to me, but that's my other canon rant.
We are kind of going into that at this point in chapter 11, where they have the story of Sister, is it Amel or
Amel. Yep.
Amel? Okay. In Loamhedge, where Fred reads off a story written by recorder Scrittum, which
Right.
that's an unfortunate name.
Indeed. It's
Uh,
oh, I just thought of why you okay, never mind.
yeah, not even gonna go into it, but so
Moving quickly onward.
yep. So before we go into the story, which is very depressing, though I do like how they have like the in-universe audience reactions as Fred is reading the story. I think that's
I
pretty
like that
cute.
too. Yeah.
I love so Martha tells Bragoon and Sarah the rhyme, like the riddle that Martin gave her, and Sarah goes, "I remember Martin the warrior spoke to me and Bragg when we were young." And Carol's like, "Really?" She goes, "Oh, I'll tell you what he said. Seek adventure, little mates. Go ye forth from Redwall gates, both of ye wild and unchecked. Be gone afore my abbey's wrecked."
It was Goff, wasn't it?
It had to be gone. In my exact notes, Sorrow, I'm pretty sure Gonf would have been the one to send that message to you.
Right.
Oh, I thought that was great. And you know what? We never really get people making jokes about Martin's riddles. And so that's also like a nice little, just like fun thing, fun little
Oh,
breath of fresh air.
Fred was not amused.
No, he was not. I was, though. And that's what was
Oh,
really
I
important.
was too.
The
I was
readers
3.
were amused.
Yes.
So then, just to bring us down, they do find history of Loamhedge, or at least a partial. They find out, hey, we found the story of Sister Emma. It was written by a different a recorder, basically back when Redwall was founded. And, quote, "The plague has come to Loamhedge, a great sickness is upon us. The morning we buried 4, 3 sisters and 1 brother. Our infirmary is packed with the ill and suffering. I fear this abbey has become a pest hole. Abbess Germain and her council have reached a bitter decision. If we are to survive, we must leave Loamhedge. It's almost unthinkable. Forsake our beautiful old home to wander in the wilderness. Germain speaks of traveling to Musfar country where she has friends. Does she? Who will give us shelter. We are to take very little with us and live off the land as we go. These are hard and sad times indeed. So I'm going to cut it off there, but they do go into Sister Emil, who had a wheelchair and lived at Loamhedge, and she elected to not go with what became the original Redwall founders.
Yep.
Yep. Which I mean, even if she decided that, I was kind of annoyed with Scrittum for just being like, "Oh, you're probably right. You'd just be a burden." I'm like, "No, no, you are taking this child with you, you absolute monster."
Well, Scrittum was very sad about it. Like, it wasn't like an easy decision.
No, but still.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like Scrittum was kind of I'm trying to think of the right term for it, like not accepting the reality of it, but not really being like, look, I get it, but it's like she was the one who said that she would fear that she would hold us back, and he just said, in a way, she is right. And just saying, like, it would be extremely difficult for her to keep up with that, to even try to keep up with them due to all the hazards that they're going to have to go through, which if some of them are like the ones that they had to deal with in Matameo, part of that was a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I get it. I think Scrittum was more like, I know you're right, and it sucks that you're right, but you are kind of right, but I still think it sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, At the same time, you don't
Yeah.
abandon your friends. Like, that's not a Redwall thing. So that
Yeah.
they're just like, nope, take her with you.
And
But
maybe
it's not
Script
Redwall,
should
it's
have
Loamhedge. It's a completely different Abbey.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't want to go to
Script
Loamhedge.
shouldn't have written those exact details in the official log of the Abbey, but
Right.
like she's right. She shouldn't come with us. Like, huh? All right. We didn't get like the first interruption of everyone like all sad and everything from it, and um, how we get like Torin like, I'd never do that to you, Martin, and then Martha and Dragoon's like, me neither, and then Martha like is immediately like, I know none of you would. Can we move on?
Yeah.
I want
That
more
was true.
information. I don't have answers yet. Shut up.
Right.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they continue and they find out Amel somehow had some sort of formula that let her walk again because she chased after the Loamhedge crew.
So, yep, and they don't have the exact thing, but so I'm gonna throw in like the little bit of like it's real. It's like a realistic thing, but like I know this is fantasy and stuff, but there's like some things that just wouldn't make sense, which is if you could not walk your entire life, or heck, even for a month, your leg muscles would be atrophied, like would start to wear away. Or if
Right.
in her case, you'd be barely getting around at first, let alone be able to run after people. I know
Right.
there's a thing called adrenaline, but you know, let alone be able to keep up with everyone and march over that rough terrain. Speaking as someone who at one point had issues where I had to have a couple surgeries or had muscle issues, and I could like I went from walking miles a day to barely being able to walk down to the end of the street.
Yeah.
So it's like this sort of thing, like I get they want to say like, oh, you know, it's a miracle that she can walk, but like she'd be stumbling, she would not be able to keep up with them.
Yeah. And I mean, this whole thing of a miracle cure is like, oh, I have so many complicated feelings about it because, like, I think people who are traditionally viewed as able-bodied assume that if you're disabled, you must want a cure, right? And of course, Martha does because the author was, as far as I know, traditionally, typically able-bodied, and would assume that, of course, that's what a disabled person would want. I mean, it's just, I mean, and I don't begrudge anyone with a disability who wants a cure. Like, that's a personal decision that you have to make. But it's very damaging to assume that all disabled people must want cures, because I personally, being born blind, never having experienced what it's like to see, and also knowing that my brain right now is not in a stage of development where even if there was like a way to get sight back, I wouldn't be able to process it. I probably wouldn't be able to read or write print. I probably wouldn't be able to, like, all the, like, I don't know, I might have mental health issues from all the stimulus that my brain could not handle. So I personally wouldn't want a quote unquote cure. But at the same time, I'm not a broken sighted person. I'm a blind person, and that is fine, and that is respectable, and that is nothing to be ashamed of. So I just feel it's just really complicated because I know that Martha is not totally putting her life on pause to wait for a cure. She's like doing stuff, and she seems cheerful and happy, and like occasional sadness is perfectly understandable. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's just damaging. I don't know what a child in a wheelchair would feel like reading this, being like, wait, should I want a cure? Am I bad to not want one? It's very complicated. And I get that it's a children's book, but it's just like, I don't know. He makes it a lot more simple than I think it actually is.
There is one way I think it can be justified, and I say that very cautiously, in that it's demonstrated in some way that it's not like a physical malady. There's something else going on there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's targeted towards a person who's, had a congenital problem since birth. This is somebody who has lost an ability or never developed an ability to begin with due to other problems. So
Right.
It's not a, hey, I'm fine without this. It's a, I should be this way, but I'm not.
Right.
Which,
And I mean, but at the same time, I've had friends who've gone blind later in life who are like, of course, there was a grieving process, of course. And that's a totally legitimate. And I'm not saying it's not. But afterwards, they moved on with life. And they were like, I'm fine the way I am now. It's just like sort of a turn that life took that I'm totally fine with. And so, and it's, again, it's a personal choice. But
Mhm.
yeah, I did find that article that I showed you guys that like paralysis from a traumatic event is totally a thing. So I get it. Like, it's a totally legitimate thing that happened. And like, I don't know. Again, it's just super complicated. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. I just know it makes me uncomfortable.
yep. And I don't want to in any way discount that. I'm just
Oh yeah,
trying
no.
to come up with some kind of rational explanation that could explain where Brian could have written this from, because we can't ask him.
And yeah, indeed. And I want to reiterate, I love Brian Jakes. I love the Redwall series. Like, obviously, like, I'm doing a podcast as an adult for a children's series. Like, I love this series. And I don't, like, it's not like I hate Loamhedge. It's not even my least favorite book. Like, but I just have so many complicated feelings about this. I just don't want children to get the wrong message from this, or adults reading it. Like, I just don't, I don't know.
Totally understandable.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't have anything better to add to that. Frankly, you've covered it quite well.
Feelings.
Well, feelings better than discussing felines, because we all know how Sarmina turned out.
Come on, her brother was a nice guy. Not all feelings, man.
So, yeah. So we do get another riddle through this, which was written into the note, into the log, which is: beneath the flower that never grows, Sylvaticus lies in repose.
What a name.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. My secret is entombed with her. Look and think what you see there. A person with 4 legs which moved, yet it could walk and nowhere. Almost said anywhere. That would have been very different definitions. Whose arms lacked paws, but yet they held a wretched captive there.
Oh, look at that, Pete. Another Itagal quality riddle. Don't you love it?
Which, again, is not a great, well, I guess, do we all kind of get what this riddle is about? I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, it to me it means the chair is like holding her prison.
Yes, which
It's kind of
not a great way to describe a wheelchair.
yeah. It's like I'll put it this way: if you can walk and you're just stuck using a wheelchair temporarily, then yeah, it's gonna feel like that. At one point when I was leaving a hospital, I could shakily walk, but I refused to let them give me the wheelchair. But that's because I can walk, so I saw it as like it was just sort of also probably because just dumb man brain, like, no, I'm tough, even though my legs are shaking and I literally almost fell over a minute ago.
Oh my goodness. No, I was going to say, when I had my sinus surgery and I was totally drugged, and I was like, I am not going to be able to follow your voice out of the hospital. Put me in the wheelchair and push me, please, because I am on drugs and I'm in pain and I don't care.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so that is like, so that's this is what they say that Sister Emile said to the recorder.
Scrittum.
Yep.
Sorry.
I mean,
Oh.
among good guy names, that's kind of bad.
Yeah. I mean, we did have Friar Gooch in the last one, but
Right.
God, we're getting all right. So moving on. So Bragoon and Saro immediately are saying that they're ready to go, like they're ready to make the trip to Loamhedge. And when they look at the map, they even mention that they've been in that area before, so like they're familiar with the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like the fact that also they're kind of immediately volunteer, like, yeah, we'll do this for you. You know, I whether, you know, all the complications around this aside, like they at least see that she needs that Martin kind of pointed them out to do this, and there's no hesitation on their part.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I take if I take away my very nuanced adult type thinking about this, it is very sweet.
Yeah. They at least their intentions are good.
Right.
And I like Sister Sativa taking Bragoon and Sero to the infirmary to give them give them a place to sleep, and just lecturing her the entire time.
Yes.
And I love her line of "I'll be inspecting you on sickbay on the morrow, and I'll scalp it the power of you if there's one wee thing out of place, deakin." And Sero goes, "Aye, we can."
Yep.
Is it just me? Or does it feel like Brian's character writing is getting more and more sarcastic as the books go on?
Maybe.
I feel like it's getting a little self-aware, which it's actually kind of funny. So yeah, the next chapter, which is less complicated, is
Yay.
we get another character which I enjoy, which is Garfo, who has a boat which I think has the funniest name, Beetle Butt.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beetle Butt. And no, I'm not going to make a ton of Beatles puns. So
Thank you.
Yep. And so then Lana has to say goodbye to the otters, which he's so grateful to them. And I love how he keeps saying to Abrok, like, this new bowstring you made for me is perfect. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And Abrok is just like so proud of this thing that he was able to do, like, because he wasn't able to help with healing him, but he was able to do this for him, and he's so happy about that, and that Lana is so grateful.
I'm totally gonna think of you guys when I'm garroting Regable with this.
Hitman.
Yes.
And I'm gonna miss Stug, and I love his goodbye, because especially he tells Lana to stop Raga, not for like, he doesn't say like get him for hurting you. He goes, do it so he doesn't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful.
Yes, and I like the song that the otters sing to him as he's leaving. It's very lovely.
Yep.
Oh, there is one more thing before we actually depart from there. It's Garfo is a huge fan of Old Sork's nut bread.
Yes.
And she had to stay up all night baking it just for him as a favor.
Aww.
And
It's
it's like,
where have we heard that before? Something about pancakes and a hair.
yeah. But all I could
But
think
this
of
is a
was,
hair's breath different.
You already did that one.
yes. Dang.
Wait, I did?
Yes, you did. Well,
Oh.
I mean, you did say hair's breadth like literally today.
I did? Oh god, I don't even remember that. No.
You don't just get a ding, you get a dang.
Yes.
Now we need a buzzer.
Yeah, I was trying to do a buzzer, but yeah.
You got to
Didn't
order
work
a
so
buzzer with that bell.
Yeah, get one of those service bells that you have to tap for service.
Yep.
Please don't. No joke. I actually had a coworker pretty much troll me by buying me one of those from my the desk I was working at,
Oh.
just so other clients could come up and literally get my attention.
That
And
is not
I
cool.
had to be gracious and I had to be thankful, and I really wanted to leave it at her desk and say here. But
Oh, you know,
Get
you could
one
be
of
like,
those-
oh, I lost it somewhere. Sorry.
Actually, you know what? You know what it would need? It would the pun bell would need more cowbell. We need a cowbell. Ding,
Yes.
ding, ding.
What was I? I was going to say something about the otters. Oh, yes. I don't know if we mentioned, but as the, always making sure that women get their credit that they deserve, Marinu and Sork were the healers that saved Lana's life, and Marinu is Stug's mother. So yay.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
oh, we didn't mention them. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
But to finish what I had wanted to say.
Yes. Continue.
Old Sork, she has her famous nut bread. All I could think of was, well, it's actually one of 3 recipes: nut bread, nut cake, and nut scones. But only nut bread stayed around all the way through. The other 2 left. Katie got the reference.
No, I got it too.
I don't know what your reference.
Nutwing, his siblings.
Oh, I forgot. It's blah, memory bad,
I'm just
thinking
thinking.
hard.
I'm just thinking. I want nut bread. Like all the food, like especially when Burgoon and Sarah were going through the breakfast line and like loading their plates, and I was like, I want that. I want that. I want that. I want everything that you just put on your plate.
I want all the things.
Yeah.
A Red Wall buffet. That would be
Yes.
amazing.
Oh man.
I'm so hungry right now.
Me too. I haven't had dinner yet. Anyway.
Yep, it's
We
about
can
dinner
hurry up.
time.
We only got
so
2
anyway,
chapters to go.
yeah, Garfo mentions that they're going to be dealing with a buteo, which we find out is this freaky looking buzzard.
Oh, is there
who,
art of him?
Huh?
Is there art of him?
No, there wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Well, just from the description.
Oh, okay.
I'm
He's
going off the
described as a
description.
honey buzzard.
The image in my mind, okay?
Well, fine.
Everyone taking things so literally. My imagination is too much for this place. So anyway, Teo, I almost called him Buffeo. Rufio. So Rufio flies down, and Garfo handles him quite nicely. Where Buteo's like, "You have to solve this riddle," and the riddle was like the easiest thing in the universe.
Are you supposed to be a sphinx? What's it? What? No, this sounds like a sphinx. Like this is classical Greek mythology.
Oh, what was it? Like something about something sting you bad. I don't remember the riddle, but it was like
It was let's say what be
What's
brown and yellow, fat and mad,
mad?
and if you slow, sting you bad.
Yep.
And Garfo's like, I have no idea. Oh, could it be a bumblebee? And he's like, you
yes.
got me.
And then they do flip the coin, except for it's flip the pebble. It's like dry side, I win. Wet side, you lose.
Head side win, tails you lose. Hey! Don't think about it too clearly, just go aside.
So he flipped a pebble that was probably soaking wet and went, look, it's wet side up, and you lose. And he flies away. And so I had mentioned earlier, because I can't remember everything that happens in the book, I was like, I hope we get a good payoff later with Buteo taking out some villains. And this is not a spoiler. I honestly can't remember if this happens.
We will see. That's
So-
my not spoiling song.
We're back with Ragabol, and yeah, his crew's like, hey, why were we at sea for so long? There's much better food in Mossflower. Huh. Neat.
But I
You know,
don't like
Raga's,
marching. Well,
little
food or
ship
marching.
sailed off into the distance.
Yeah.
Lost it.
Oh, the chapter art for 13, we can see Ragabol and his hook. That hook looks off to me. There's just something about it that seems wrong, and I don't know why.
It looks a little small.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how that's attached to his arm.
Well, I think that's his sleeve.
Yeah.
So
But
it's like we don't see where it's actually connected.
And that seems a little squicky to me.
It's the claw.
The claws
Oh,
are
dear.
master. It chooses who will live and who will die.
Mwah.
So yeah, we get Raga with his team where he's not happy, and going crazy because Lana's been like torturing him in his dreams. And back to the Idiot Brigade, and Badred's like, I'll cut you up if you don't do what I say. I'm no fool. And I love it says he gets these two guys next to him, and he's like, it was Rog and Flago, which
Yes.
great names
Great
there.
names.
Yep. And it said that like if when we get to this whatever, I'll stand by my side. I'll make you rich. And I love the line where it says they had seen gang leaders come and go. Yeah, you saw 3 of them in the last like. You're on your 3rd leader in the last like 3 days. Oh my god.
I have to soapbox about this for just a moment.
Oh, here you go. Here's the soapbox.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Brian shows here how easy it is for vermin to get drunk on power. Bad Red suddenly has this sword, even if it's hard for him to swing it. It's a little big, but the authority just goes straight to his head and is like, I'm the chief now, you listen to me.
Right.
So, going back to the vermin are vermin because they're bad discussion, I think that has a lot to do with power and its use. So, remember how in Marlflox, Florian tried to be a leader but failed miserably due to his own ego and showmanship?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, compare that to Bad Red here in Chapter 13. Bad Red lets the power go to his head, and he wields his authority like a blunt weapon without grace or skill. Florian has problems with his power too, but it's because he isn't cruel with its use that it doesn't backfire on him. It's because he's like, yeah, you'll listen to me, and when nobody listens to him, he doesn't get like upset and angry about it. He's more just like, well, pity me.
Yeah.
And then,
Yes.
of course, trying to steal the paddle from Dwapple, and then that has its own repercussions, but that's a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion.
Yes.
So
But because he wasn't cruel, it doesn't backfire. And that's, I think, the big distinction between Woodlanders and Vermin. Vermin are cruel and selfish, whereas Woodlanders are typically limited to selfish at most.
so now that I'm sorry that now that you said he's gone mad with power because of his authority, I can only picture Badred as Cartman from South Park going, "Respect my authority!"
So have we got to the part where he literally chops a dude's tail off?
Yeah, oh yeah, he did do that. So that was the beginning of it. Yeah, where they're like, we're totally gonna do whatever we want or whatever. And a slip back. It's like, looks to me like the little fox needs a magic sword to make him look bigger. And so he just slunk. There goes his
Yes.
tail. And just
Ouch.
my tail.
Yes. And like I was thinking about this with Plug too, but I don't think I ever mentioned it. Like a tail is an extension of the spine. So like I was reading on a Facebook group with other seeing eye dogs, like someone accidentally shut their dog's tail in a door or something. And they had to take her to the vet, and I mean she's fine, but it's like she was like not okay for a few days because it's like, you know, the tail is an extension of the spine, so like she didn't feel like moving or whatever. I'm like, oh man, those poor animals getting their tails chopped. I was like, ah.
Yeah. Ugh.
So this is 2 books in a row where we've had a tail go missing. Right,
Yes.
Plug?
Yeah, there's a lot of limb loss and stuff in this one because we had Raga losing a hand. Now a guy loses a tail. Granted, Dargle lost his head, but you know,
Yes.
I don't know if that really was much of a loss though.
Nah.
Well, I mean, it wasn't as big of a loss in the end.
No. So I did like they get so they're following Plum Nose, which that's the tracker you want. He goes, "This is the way, all right." Durr.
That's pretty much the voice that he has in the audio.
Which way did he go, Chief? Which way did he go?
Yeah, pretty much. And I love the fact that then Slinky and his crew are like, "Okay, I'm gonna sing him a song. Everyone be very quiet. We're going to do this right." And then as they're about to kill Red, Plum Nose walks and goes, "That's a good one. I like that, Flink. Wake up, Dad. Very good."
Oh dear.
Just, oh my God. Followed by, they mentioned Bragoon and Saro, but they get their names wrong. They call them Sagroon and Bando. And I'm like, oh, were they followed by Garten and Monf? Oh my God. It's like, if intelligence were electricity, this group couldn't power a Game Boy for 5 minutes.
Oh, what was that quote? If brains was bread, you'd have starved to a death before you was born.
Yeah, there we
Yes.
go. Oh my God. This is a like I said, I think this is the dumbest band of villains we've had in any of these books.
That is saying something.
Yeah.
They make Sneezewort and Lousewort look like geniuses.
They went to MIT compared to these guys.
No. The MIT grads compared to them were Mo, Larry, and Curly.
Well, I did mention this group is like a Three Stooges sketch gone horribly wrong.
Yes.
Oh God! So chapter 14, we only got 2 chapters left. Yay! It's got a picture of a wrapped object that's sort of sword shaped. I'm sure that won't be important.
Oh, of course.
And I love Sister Sativa, where she's like, "All right, come on, wake up." And Sarah tries to like mess with her. It's just like clattering a stool. It's like, "We're both up, sister, just making the beds." He goes, "Ah, you're a bra fibber."
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Man, they need a badger mom.
Oh, I don't know. Seto is pretty good.
Okay. Hey, Fawn.
Aww.
Knock it off. My dog is
Doggy.
very much scratching her neck, and she's like, I don't care if you're on a podcast. I'm just gonna be loud.
I want to be a guest on it too. Why aren't there any?
Do what I want.
Why aren't there any dogs on this franchise?
Well, she did
That
make a
was
very
fun.
dramatic appearance in A Legend of Luke book. I think it was book 1, where you made a point, Pete, and then she like barked at you. that was special. Anyway.
Oh God. So yeah, I love Sarah and Bragoon running downstairs and just like chatting and working together to make sure they get the most food and all the drinks.
Yeah.
And again, so as they're getting prepared and chatting about going to where Loamhedge was, I like this other comment where they mention about the tree, which wasn't it like the Lord or something like that? is what
Lord
they
of
called it?
Mossflower. Yeah.
Lord of Mossflower. So in Madame Mayo, they make the point that like, oh look, the top of the tree broke off at some point just from weather and time, and now they're assuming they're like, look, that tree's probably long gone by now. Like it might, with everything else that's gone on, it's done. So I like the fact that they're acknowledging that the terrain and objects there are gone, and they do mention that they remember seeing the badger and the bell, the
Yep.
2 rocks.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like little bits of, hey, I remember that from the previous books that I have read.
Yep. And then I like it too where Martha's like, does that mean it's too dangerous? Because they bring up like all the vermin and everything, and they're like, whatever gave you that idea? We live on danger. Danger's my middle name.
Yeah, and have we got to the part where like Horty and his friends just invite themselves along? Like, I will be the map carrier.
Yep. So that now we've hit that, which yeah, Horty. So I think it was in like one of the previous chapters, like they kind of hinted that they wanted to go, which makes sense that they do want to go, and they essentially invite themselves along, and Bragoon and Sarah are like, you're too young, you're too green, you would not make it. This is a bad idea. Like, we get why you want to go, and their reason for going is perfectly pure. They're not just like looking for an adventure or to leave the Abbey. It's they just want to help Martha.
Yeah.
It's literally they have the best intentions, and like Horty, obviously it's his sister, but Spriggled and Fenna both say like, she's our friend, we want to do whatever it takes to help her.
Right.
So I
mean,
like. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say they do throw tantrums, but it's like, I don't know, like I wasn't as annoyed with them as I was in the previous book with Scarum, and I just think because they care about people and they're not. I'm bringing up Scarum. I'm so sorry. Probably, but it's like I don't know. They just seem and they're teenagers, and so they're gonna be jerks sometimes. And I don't know. It just. I mean, I was like, ooh, this is awkward when they were like screaming at them. But I was like, well, you know.
Yeah. Well, so that part, yes, definitely. Like at first, I'm definitely on their side. Like I can sympathize with them at least. But again, we have this good juxtaposition between the elders and the younger characters, where the elders and Bragoon and Sarah and the abbot and Fred and even Martha are saying like, look, you have no experience outside of the Abbey. You would run into danger, and Bragoon and Sarah can't just like keep watch over you the entire time.
Right.
They have to take care of themselves at some point. And heck, even going back to the first book, when the first time Matthias left Redwall, when he went to go rescue, to get the tapestry back and accidentally rescue the Vole family, he got lost.
Yeah.
He got lost and this was just literally the forest right outside of the Abbey. So,
and he lived there his whole life, so you'd figure
Yeah.
he'd at least know the local country.
yeah. So, like, if he could get lost in that situation, who knows what can happen to these guys? And it's not like, the adventurers we've seen in the past, like, get places without a map. We've seen what happens to these adventurers. They run into problems. They run into roadblocks. Heck, in Martin the Warrior, they almost get eaten like 3 times.
Right.
They have to deal with the squirrel house next to the frat house at one point. I forgot the name of them, but
Go Tribe.
God Tribe House. Yeah. So like it's a dangerous world out there if you have no experience. And even if you do, it's still dangerous. Like we saw how many of the Gaussum died in Matameo.
Yeah, and Russa Nodre, like she was very experienced and wise and like totally you wouldn't want to mess with her, but it says she sleeps with one eye open. Like
yeah. So they have a solid point, and I will say yes, their outburst is definitely uncalled for, and I understand they're frustrated, but I also like the fact that when the abbot apologized to Bragoon and Saro, they kind of brushed it off. They're like, look, we were the same, if not even worse, when we were their age, and they say, like we understand how they feel, but we've been them, and that's why we know we can't take them with us.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Horty, Springald, and Fenna are about as teenagery as any of Brian's characters have ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But Brian does an excellent job with these characters, and they feel really fleshed out, more so than usual. It's not just a Viola Bankful flouncing around in her excessive number of skirts.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they have more emotion, more motivation than just, I don't like this, or I want to do this, don't stop me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
they have the best intentions, but like teenagers, when they're told no,
yep,
it doesn't always go the right way. And I think that was there's a lot of good realistic character stuff in this book where people are acting like you would expect someone of that age to act.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows the good juxtaposition between the wiser characters and even Martha is the one saying like, look, you guys have never been outside the Abbey. I think and she does say if Martin had said you 3 should go, I'd be all for it. But it just mentioned them, and I feel like they're the most experienced with this.
Yeah.
And you need to respect what the abbot has told you.
Impatient and presumptive as ever, I see, you trio of terrible teenagers.
Yeah, and it's you can tell how much Horty cares about this, though, because the abbot's like, you're going to have to skip the feast. And he's like, fine, keep your stupid feast.
Yeah, like, he's passing up food. Like,
right.
That's how strongly he feels about this. Like, wow. Yeah, because it's different from the previous book where Scarum the scumbag was like ate them out of house and home and then left when they rightfully punished him. Whereas Horty, Fenna, and Springald, instead of saying like, well, we're just going to run off and do it right now, granted, I mean, we'll see what happens in the next chapter, but they actually do go up to the infirmary. Like, they actually do what they're told.
Right.
And so I do love where Bragoon says to Torin, he's like, why don't you come with us? She could make us some food. And they're like, yeah, why don't we just get Junti Cellarbeast to come? They're like, yeah, he can make the drinks. And then the abbot's like, oh, of course, take Junti and Torin, but make sure to take Sister Sestiva in case you get hurt. We'll go alone.
Yep.
We're suddenly fine. Thank you. Miracle cure. Yeah.
Maybe better just the 2 of us.
I feel great. I've never felt better in my life. Thank you for your life-saving help. Goodbye now.
You know what? And you know what? The humor in this book is totally on point all the time, too.
Yep.
And so Martha gives them a send-off song, which is she sings about the late Rose of the Abbey.
The voice actor who plays Martha is a very talented singer. Actually, she's one. Not that any of them are like really bad, but she is definitely one of the best ones.
Awesome. And then to send them off, Abbot Carroll trusts and believes them in enough and gives them Martin's sword. And
Yep.
Yeah, this is. I mean, don't get me wrong. The last couple of books have been like Martin's the only one allowed to point the champion. And yeah, I take issue with that. But I'm like, I kind of read it as like, whoa, you're giving them Martin's sword. That's a big leap.
I think
I'm not saying it's not undeserved.
Yeah. And I also like their reaction to it of just like, oh, cool, a sword. It's like they understand the importance of this. Like they don't take it lightly.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I think that was a good touch.
And it's not like anyone's going to be looking for this sword anytime soon.
No. Well, at least nobody intelligent.
I mean, it sort of works.
That's my reaction to that.
All right. So anyway, when they leave, I like the send off where they exude like confidence. Like they know it's gonna be dangerous, but they play it off to the others like, "Don't worry, we'll take care of this. This is nothing for us." I like that.
Yep. There they go. I sure can't wait to see them return. It'll be great.
It'll be great.
Yep. Marching along, carrying the sword. So they then leave, and then in the next chapter, we get Horty and the terrible duo, and the terrible trio here, where they are still determined to go. And again, they at least have a good reason for going. They're not doing this for themselves. They're not being selfish. Well, to a degree. Like, I have a feeling like part of it is Horty's like, well, I'm Martha's brother, so I deserve to be the one to do this. But they at least have noble intentions. We then get them like, well, we need a distraction, and Horty comes up with a clever idea that all three of them immediately regret and realize is bad.
Yes.
Horty, you better not be pulling a Scarum.
He's not. You know what? He is apologetic about this. Like, he does kind of realize, like, oh shoot, I didn't think about it at the time. He was being desperate.
Yeah, if he hadn't been apologetic, it definitely would have been a Scarum move.
Yes.
Absolutely agree. And so his idea is he calls out to a couple of the Dibbins and tell them about some magic talking fish or something, and so they'll run to the pond. But then Fennet and Springald are like, they're gonna run into the pond.
Yeah.
Like they can drown, and he immediately goes, shoot, I didn't think about that, and he starts trying to call back to them to get them to stop. So he does feel bad about this, and when he realizes the danger, in his desperation, he made a bad call.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't work, they see Brother Gelf. And Fenna immediately yells to him like, the Dibbins are running into the pond. Please save them right now.
Yes.
And he takes off. So you know what?
No lifeguard on duty.
Yeah, they need a lifeguard for that thing. They really do.
Yes.
And it also helps that Springald and Fenna, this helps them because they've been kind of jerks a lot in this story so far. So I like the fact that it shows, they honestly do care about the Abbey. They care about other people. And they're the first ones to yell at Horty and also the call for help.
Yeah. I like how they start beating him like, you are an idiot.
Yep. And so they sneak off, and while the Dibbins are rescued, they say Muggum, I think, was the one that tells them what happened. And Martha's pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Martha. Yep, which very much so. And she's like, I'm going to yell at them along with you, Abbott, because this is unacceptable. Like, does she play, and we've seen throughout the whole book so far, she's willing to forgive Horty for a lot of the stuff he does. She's willing to kind of look the other way. This shows that she has a breaking point with him.
Yep.
And granted, also, she doesn't realize that he immediately realized he made a big mistake. So I think that would at least help if they would have actually talked, which they don't, because Horty and Fenna and Springald sneak out with giant knapsacks, with tons of food in them, and they immediately point out. I really like this, where they say that they immediately point out the bad decision of what type of traveling supplies they took.
Yeah. Squishy things that will get even more squished on the march. Good
Yep.
job.
And stuff that like you can't just eat on the go, like where they say that they gave Bragood and Saro like cheese and bread and like granola, basically like little snack things, or like basically energy bars, things like that.
Oh man, they give us Lunchables. Who
Yeah.
eats these anymore?
But they've been there for seasons. Nobody's touched them. You take them.
They got those oat cakes from Bellmaker that knock people out. And we then say like, Torin, can you, and I think it was Junti, the cellar hog, they're like,
Yeah.
can you guys go after them? And they're like, sure. They leave. They immediately run back in and go,
Yes.
there's vermin approaching, which I like the cliffhanger because we don't know if it's the idiot brigade or the actual dangerous vermin. If it's Ragabul's crew or if it's Bandred.
Right. And this, I got like very strong Mary Love Redwall parallel, because at one point Mother Melis is like, hey, Flag, go and retrieve the adventurers who went off adventuring. And he goes out and he's like, whoop, vermin. And he turns around and goes back in.
Yeah.
Vermin. Why did it have to be vermin?
Right.
Yep.
Of course there's
And
vermin
they-
outside. We're in a book, right?
Oh.
It's been too peaceful. Something bad had to happen.
Yep.
Murphy's
And,
Red Bull law.
The School of Hard Knocks is about to have 3 new students, and lessons are mandatory.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to rereading book 2 because I remember some of their mistakes and things. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's satisfying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the end of book 1, and I think that was a good way to end the book or end this section.
I agree. So for all things considered, because remember we're past the point I stopped reading on this series.
Mhm.
Yeah, despite what I mentioned earlier, like pointing out the obvious, hey, this has totally happened before. Yeah, this is actually kind of a novel story. As Katie has much more better to say than I can on the ableist stuff here.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy the characters so far.
Yep. No, I definitely, I do enjoy this book. And now that I've, ranted in the rant canon for a while, I mean, I still have a little bit more to say, but like, there are some really good things in this book. I actually do like Slinky. He amuses me. And yeah, I do like the characters. I do like Martha. Like, I think she's cool. Like, she's kind of an atypical hare, and she is a scholar, and she is smart. And we'll see in the next couple books that she really like does some stuff. I don't want to say anymore because I will spoil, but she does some stuff and it's cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. Like, now that I think that I've gotten past I'm pissed that this wasn't the book I wanted it to be. I do like this story, and the cast for this one I think is really good. Like all the characters so far have been really unique in some ways, and we get like good variety. And I especially loved the character. I love Fred. He's fantastic. I really like Lana. Like I said, he feels like this great mixture of like an Earth Stripe and a Sunflash. Where he's angry when he needs to be, but also so gentle like Sunflash was. Stug, of course, was absolutely adorable. And I really like the juxtaposition between the elders and the young crew, where these characters are played as very realistic. And like the way they act, the way they treat each other, I think is very realistic. And I think that's very well done.
I think, yeah, this is one of the more obvious type themes going through. Like in Tagarong, I think the theme was like family and what does family mean, and like the family you're born with versus the family you choose, and blah blah blah. And this one is like older and younger, and kind of how those generations mix together and how they can learn from each other and stuff. I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely looking forward to book 2 and 3.
And as for me, I hmm, I like the story. Uh, Although this is probably the first time that I've really concentrated on the problematic stuff, so it's made my opinion a little bit more mixed than it was before. I've spoken previously how I mentally split the series into three quote unquote ages of Redwall books. You have the stuff that's pre Redwall, then Redwall to Tagarung, and then everything post Tagarung. And so for this third generation of books, we're getting to the point where it feels like this kind of final generation really is starting to hit its stride. Uh, the characters feel more fleshed out than they have in previous books. Character motivations are more clear and complex at the same time. Uh, we have vermin that aren't just me conquer everything in path, even though there is some of that there. It's you see the build up to what will eventually be me conquer everything in path.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's entertaining that we get that from not one but two vermin bands. We see even with some of these side characters that we only know for a couple of chapters, Arbrook, Stug, Marinu, they're Holt, very well fleshed out, and definitely characters that I would read an entire novella just about them and what their life is like. So, uh, good story, has problematic sections, but also has some of the best comedy we've seen in a number of books, and
Oh, yeah.
certainly funnier than Scarum.
Yes.
Yep.
So, yeah, looking forward to reading the rest of it.
All right.
Well, that's
So-
Loamhedge book 1.
Yep.
Well, we'll get to book 2 and book 3, and by October, well, as we've already said on air, yeah, we're doing Castaways 2.
Yep.
Woohoo.
Electric Castaway. Ooh.
Angel Boogaloo.
I like that.
Nice.
So you can find us at recorderonthewall.com. It's our primary website. We are active on Reddit, the subreddit Eulalia, when I remember to post threads there. We're active on the Red Wolf forums when I remember to post threads there. I still haven't done for the food episode.
Oops.
So we're active on Twitter, which I did update successfully on at ROTWPOD. Our primary contact email is rotwpod@gmail.com. Reach out sometime. We'd like to hear fans what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and fan fictions that we'd love to take on in April.
Indeed.
I cover everything.
We're on Spotify and
Thank you.
Apple Pod, whatever they call it now. I don't know. The Apple thing.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and it's on. I think it's YouTube Podcast now. Google Music is going away.
People
Stop
need to
changing your names,
changing.
people. Oh God.
It's like that weird thing where email providers have to change their UI like every 18 months or something like that. It's like, I just got comfortable with the old design. Why are you changing it?
Ah!
Don't make me go back to archive.org to find the old version. Yeah. So until next time, folks, remember, like Horty, hate Scarum.
Oh, come on, man.
And that concludes our tour of the Loamhedge historical ruins. Thank you.
I like
Please
the
stop by the
hole in
gift
the
shop and
ground.
pick up a complimentary Loamhedge Abbey historical site koozie.
Sweet.
Cool.